Welcome to Balls and Brews. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Pod 22.
Oh boy.
Oh, that is delicious.
So, I'm
You
Trevor.
guys-
This is Zach. Chuck, what we got?
Oh man, show it off, you guys. This is
Dude.
beautiful. We're gonna double can it. It's by Mother Earth. It's called Syntax. An imperial, which is our favorite word here on this pod. Stout, peanut butter.
Dude, it's
stout.
delicious.
Dude, it's delicious. Downy. No, okay. Heavy on the peanut butter.
I love it.
Love it.
I
Heavy
love
on
it. And then
peanut
the
butter.
imperial. And the only reason it's imperial is because it's A1, right?
Right.
But it doesn't have like that imperial kick. It's not as thick as that summer gun we drank like a month ago. That heart box one.
The
That's
heart-shaped box.
yeah, that was motor oil. This is like right up my alley. I love it. I love anything that's got peanut butter in it is like amazing to me.
You
So.
do get a nice balance of that. They advertise it as roasty as well, and I agree with that. There's very much like a porter kind of backbone to it, though. Like that caramel, that malt is.
You get the brown
definitely there,
sugar?
too. Not yet, but as it opens up, normally, as we were hanging out last night, and Scott's wife was like, "Stouts are better warm," and I was like, "Wow." Welcome to the party. Like, that's absolutely what can happen. The darker beers as they open up, dude, you'll get some brown sugar, I'm sure. But so they are out of. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Z. Mother Earth out of Vista, California.
That's what
We've already said it drinks at 8.1. So
8.1,
yeah. But one, but delicious. It's gonna be well enjoyed.
Yep, one for sure. Maybe two, but I'm not really doing much after the second one. Like it's kind of like two because that's all I'm having that night is just two beers. Like with
Just 2 beers. We call those the regular nights.
Chuck, what do you got for the question this week?
This beer question, you guys. All right, so referencing once again last night, I had a beer on nitro that I had never had on nitro before. Black Butte Porter by Deschutes, which is a phenomenal beer, by the way. Like that's a flagship that I can drink almost every day. Like, so the question is beer better on nitro?
I say yes. Like I've had that Fall River is on nitro that I like. That coffee stout that we get at Boley's when we go to Boley's. I love having, like I said it last night, I love having Guinness. I just like it's just so light and like it's just easy drinking. Any beer on nitro, even if it's like got like a lot of percentage to it, always is an easy drinking. It just like it's so smooth.
Yeah,
I didn't have your Black Butte last night though. Was that what it was like?
Oh,
it looked
it
smooth.
was phenomenal. I thought you poured me a Guinness. I thought, but the way I had never seen a Black Butte look like that. A nitro pour is very different. If you've ever drank beer on nitro, it's very different than carbon influenced beer as far as the way the head sits, how long it lasts, all that kind of stuff. So I legit was like, I had to smell it a couple of times, and then upon my first sip, I was like, holy shit, dude, this is a Black Butte on nitro. And it's cool because you don't have to always just do it with dark beers. You can nitro any beer you really want. Like I've had, like, have you ever heard of Old Speckled Hen? It's an old English ale on nitro. It is phenomenal. It's like an adult cream ale, dude. It's so good. Like, but that's not a dark beer at all. So you can nitro lighter beers as well. It's just the oxidation process, right? And how it makes it more frothy, dude. That nitrous hits.
What do you think, Trey?
I haven't had a whole lot of nitro beers, but I haven't had a bad one.
Good point.
I mean,
Good point.
that's fair. That's fair. I'm batting 1,000.
Batting 1,000, baby.
All right, so let's jump into, well, guess what, boys? Preseason has started. Everybody gets 3 games except for the teams that play in the Hall of Fame game. They get 4. Last year, I remember looking it up because the Raiders played in the Hall of Fame game, and I remember thinking, oh, do they have to play more? Do they just not play 1 week? And no, if you play in the Hall of Fame game, you get 4 games. I don't know. What do you guys think of that? Like, first starting right there, and then we'll get into
I think that is weird that 2 teams get that extra game. I mean, I don't know if that's a hindrance or not. Like, it seems like another week to like see what your younger guys have. Pretty much. I don't know. What do you think?
It's just a weird the fact that only two teams have to do it, right? And like it just doesn't add any value. I mean, I guess it does for those guys trying to make a roster spot. They might appreciate it. Like
there's also one more game to get injured.
That's where my head goes. That's exactly where my head goes. You put your boys on bubble wrap, right? Like,
well, that's why you see that. That's why you see that when in those Hall of Fame games, so it is like sometimes the second stringers don't even play.
Sure,
it's like third and four guys. Just because of that is the extra game.
Yeah.
Okay, so we each watched our teams play. What do you look for in your team during a preseason game? Chuck, I'll start with you.
The one thing that I wanted to see that I didn't see was tackling. My defense has had a real issue with getting guys to the ground. We're in good position a lot of times, but we can't wrap up, we can't finish. That's why bringing Bobby back is so huge. But I saw a lack of tackling kind of scared me. I was hoping to see that cleaned up. Now, granted, we were playing the rotational guys who are looking to potentially start at certain different positions, but most of them were backups right out of the gates too. But first couple of weeks in preseason, you're looking just to see the guys that you haven't seen before step up a little bit and see if they can earn that roster spot. And you want to see the guys that have already made the squad just kind of get in some reps real quick, in and out. Like, a drive or two or whatever. Like, we got JSN the ball to start on a couple of different plays, and he looks pretty good. He's a no-doubter to make the team. My defensive line looked hype to begin with, which was awesome. So I hope that really carries on. Boye Mafe looked like he took a step forward. So, but it's one preseason game. It's at home. Everybody's juiced. And my offense didn't look that good, to be fair. Other than Zach Charbonnet, shout out to him. He ran some fools over. Our second round draft pick out of UCLA. He's going to be a beast.
So Trev, before you go, do you guys like starters playing, or do you want your starters not to play at all in the 3 games? Chuck, yes or no?
I want to see some starters. Not for anything more than like a sustained drive, but I'd like to see, I like seeing starters. I do. I like to see what that preliminary program is looking like.
I think for starters, you only need one half of one of those games, really, to get a peek of what's going on.
Agreed.
I think the rest of the time it's for the younger players. And that's what I watch for when I'm watching or listening to preseason, is first and second year players or players that are coming back from injury. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm trying to see. Like, was there that next step in that growth? How are they looking? Talking about the Niner game, I didn't get to watch it. I just caught the highlights and listened to it while I was working.
There.
From everything that I heard and saw, it sounds like Trey Lance deserves to be the third string quarterback, if not fourth string at this point. It was not good.
Yeah, Mooch and Michael Robinson basically tore him apart at halftime and then at the end of the game on NFL Network.
Oh, it's just real disappointing. Like, there was 3 3-and-outs, and the one touchdown that he did have, it was a deflection off another guy.
The Raider guy should have picked it.
Yeah, he should have. It just, I know, he hasn't played a lot, and if the Niners weren't in a Super Bowl window, I think he would get an opportunity with the team. But just with where he's at right now, it just seems like such a project.
Is it now, in your opinion, do you keep 3 on the roster and he's 3, or is he now trying to make his resume to get traded?
Well, again, I think they would trade him if they could. I don't think there's a lot of buyers right now for Trey Lance. And with the quarterback situation that happened last season, I feel that they'll probably hold on to him.
They made a specific rule for you guys that you could add, that you could dress a third QB on game day.
Yeah, again, unless Tua goes down, I really think we won't be moving on from Trey until next season.
I agree with you, Trev, on the first year and second year players. That's what I'm usually watching for, and I'm kind of watching to see how the team is playing. Like, are they working hard? Are they actually effort,
trying to win that spot?
Yes, I felt like today the Raiders out-efforted the Niners.
Oh yeah.
It just seemed just in general, and I know it's preseason or whatever, but you guys just didn't look like you were fully there, honestly. offensive and defensive lines kind of got pushed around. We were in the backfield all day. Like Trey Lance got sacked like 4 times or something, or got hit 4 times, sacked
Who
twice.
played after him? He didn't play the whole game, did he? Who
No,
was-
Sam played.
Donald looked better.
came in.
Sam had some nice throws, and then he came out, and it was Allen.
Yeah.
Kyle Allen.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that he's
The
the
kid
other
that was
kid
from the
on there.
Panthers,
I remember
right?
Kyle Allen and the Commanders. I
Yep.
think at one point.
Yep.
I would be happy with him as third string if we were able to move on from Lance. I just don't think we're going to. So Lance
That
is gonna fall
goes
there.
down then. Like, I mean, you've had an insanely good roster outside of that, so you don't get criticized for that move as bad as you should. If he flounders out of the league after giving up 2 first-round picks to move up and snag him,
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
that's a big L.
real
Now,
bad.
well, I mean, yeah, because it's the whole thing. Like you've told me several times, Downey, what would have happened to the Seahawks if we never made that Jamal Adams acquisition and didn't give up 2 first-rounders for a safety
Correct.
who's been off injured, you know?
It's like, why would you, and it was like the whole thing with not Sam Darnold, with Trey Lance, it's like, Kyle's won with Cousins, Kyle's won with Matt Ryan, Kyle's won with,
everywhere he's gone.
with
That's why
dudes,
he's regarded
with
as one
dudes
of
that
the best head
stand in the
coaches right
pocket,
now.
and it was rumored that you guys were Mac Jones, and then all of a sudden, you jumped to Trey Lance after a little bit. So I think that Kyle finally jumped to Trey, but wanted Mac probably the whole time because, I mean, Mac's rookie year, if he would have played for Kyle, like Mac probably would have been not. I don't know if he got hurt like Purdy. I'm not saying the arm thing or anything, but Mac would have been playing and starting already for you guys,
Yeah, it would definitely be.
and you wouldn't have had to move up to get him.
Yes. So in hindsight, of course, it looks bad. I don't think Trey Lance is necessarily not going to develop. It's just I don't see it happening with the Niners. But let's hear about some good quarterback play.
Aiden Connell played really well. He was very sharp. 2 of his incompletions were actually drops. So he played really sharp, and he looked sharp in the pocket. He stepped up in the pocket when the rush came around him.
That's
He had
very
awareness.
important. That's what I didn't see out of Lance. That was every time he was in the pocket, he looked scared, indecisive, like.
And see the difference. Okay, so let's get back to like that difference. Remember we talked about with Purdy. You guys were like, well, I like Purdy because he's been the 4-year starter at Iowa State, right?
Okay.
Now you got Lance, who only started 1 year at North Dakota State. Then talking about Aiden O'Connell, he started 3 to 4 years at Purdue. The other guy, Jake Haener, that I took in the 4th round, also started 4 years. I think with quarterbacks, I know running backs we've talked about, you want to see like less starts in college. I think the quarterback position, starting 4 years in some of these systems, helps these guys coming in. Aiden O'Connell looked very precise with his reads. He was going from one to another, and the ball was where it needed to be most of the
It
time.
makes a lot
He
of
doesn't have the
sense.
big arm, and that's probably why he
the
didn't
more
get it.
football you see,
Right. And I think from the quarterback position, I literally think that that's like,
Yeah, you need a lot of development, so that those extra years help for sure.
athleticism at that position only gets you so far. The best quarterback of all time was one of the least athletic humans in the NFL for a decade plus.
all top 3.
Top 3, like all time.
Quarterbacks, yeah.
Manning, you would probably put
Joe,
up there.
And Joe, I
And
mean,
Montana.
they're
Montana was sneaky on the ground, though. To be fair,
sneaky, but he's not.
He's
like,
not a runner. He wasn't.
correct. Like,
Same with Steve Young actually was a very underrated running
well,
quarterback.
Steve Young would have killed it these days. John Elway would have killed it these
Sure,
days. Those
sure.
2 would have just lit it up.
Same with
Damn it.
Marino. God, Marino in
'Cause he
today's
would just-
system, he would throw
just-
for 6,000
dude, he
yards.
just- yeah.
It would be so
He'd just be
ridiculous.
standing back there tearing people apart, So,
But that goes to he was a 4-year starter at Pitt. He came out as a senior, so
And that's-
it goes that far back to say get the guys, more reps, the more football they see, the better they should be at it.
yeah, and I thought I was very happy. Just like I was telling Trev, it just seemed like our offensive and defensive line kind of pushed around
Had
the
the
Niners. We hit them a lot. We were in Trey Lance's face a lot. We were in Darnold's face a lot. I thought it looked nice. It was nice seeing the one pick we did catch. We should have had 2 others went through the dude's hands, but there should have been 2 other picks. So
So
I've
work
been
on the
pretty-
hands, but you were in the right spot.
I've been pretty critical
Yeah, good
about.
positioning.
Yeah, I've been pretty critical about the cornerback. So I'll talk about that later when we get into other things. But it was nice to see how hard they played, and it was very nice to see Aiden O'Connell look very on point. He looked very on point. So
Right on.
okay, so Let's jump into some people that still aren't signed. Some big names
You
right
guys,
here.
this laundry list, these are some names. Let's go over. Let's just highlight.
Let
some.
me hit these 4 first
Oh,
real
you
quick,
go.
Chuck.
Let's go. Let's do 4 first.
Jacobs still not at camp with the Raiders.
But he's technically not considered a free agent
Right.
because of the tag.
Right, but he's still not at camp yet, so he's holding out.
Right.
Supposedly they were talking again. I haven't seen any numbers or anything, but supposedly they were talking again. Another person that's holding out, Chris Jones. He's not shown up yet either, and he wants some Aaron Donald money. So, what do you guys think that one?
I think the Chiefs are gonna bite the bullet there and pay.
I don't see how you couldn't. You
Dude,
can't.
he's a stud.
You can't let him not play, and you can't let him just go.
He wrecked shop inside.
He has been an anchor on that interior line for 5-6 years now. Like
He is probably either. I mean, I think this year he might have been voted over Aaron Donald on the top 100, but it's those two are 1-2 of the defensive tackle
agreed.
realm.
Agreed.
Another person that's still not signed on the line is Zach Martin as well. He's still holding out. Sounds like they're not going to pay him, so we'll see how far that goes.
Well, once again, he is signed. He's
Correct.
just like
Yep, he's just on a holdout.
Same with Bosa.
That's another name I was going to bring up. What do you reading? What are you hearing? Let's hear it.
So from what I've heard, they're not close on the contract right now.
really.
I don't really think it's a big deal because I
I
think
don't either.
it's before week 1 they're going to get it done. It's just
There's no way you're
there's
going
no
out there
rush,
without
really.
Nick Bosa. There's no way, right?
I don't believe there's any.
Is he looking for number? Is he looking for number 1 DN?
I
slash-
just
be
won
surprised.
defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I
He's
think so.
like he is the tip of the
He's-
mountaintop
He wants
right
that
now,
big
right?
money and he deserves it.
he
And
does.
it
Do you have
doesn't
the-
matter
do you
if he
have the
misses
space?
preseason or not.
Do you have the space?
They can make it work. Again, it's just
That is true. That is true.
I don't know even if Bosa's really trying to get into those preseason or training camp workouts.
Why would he?
Yeah, he doesn't need to really.
Isn't he getting Doc Cash though right now?
What was that?
He's getting Doc Cash right now, isn't he? All these guys are holding out
No.
unless they're the
Yes,
unless they're the
because-
Jacobs guy because he's not actually kind of signed.
Yeah, they're
The other guys are all getting Doc because they're on contract.
Because they're not on rookie deals.
Yeah.
If you're on your rookie deal and you sit out, you don't have to incur fines. If you're on your second, third, fourth deal, whatever, they are allowed to fine you. However, I did read that the Niners are not currently holding him to. I guarantee you it actually works out better for the both sides if he's not not having him there is not good. You want him in camp, I guess,
Yep.
but not having him there isn't the worst thing in the sense that the motherfucker knows the playbook, he knows what he's got to do, he's a beast.
Yeah,
I guarantee you
you
staying in
don't
shape.
gotta worry about.
Yeah. He's gonna show up ready to go. He's just got to get his chickens right. He's got to get that finances knocked down, and he deserves top 3 at that position. Money.
Oh, yeah,
He's
100%.
absolutely that dude. That
100%.
Yeah.
Other dudes. Now these are a couple free agents. Chuck will roll off the next ones. Dalvin's still a free agent, and
Surprising to me.
Clowney is visiting the Jags.
I thought specifically Rodgers was taking that pay cut so they could bring in Dow. I thought he wasn't going to make it out of that
I did
weekend.
too.
I thought he was going to get a deal.
They
back.
said he was kind of. There was some reports came out that it was not a great visit. He was kind of I don't know.
Wasn't high on the Jets.
Maybe.
My guess is probably because they were like, look, bro, you're coming in here to be RB1 while Brees Hall recovers, and then when he comes back into your
split.
bare minimum split, if not going to be the 2-back.
Right.
You use the fresher legs more. I know he's coming back from a serious injury.
God, I just want him to go up to Buffalo. I want Buffalo to find the money somehow and get him. I just want Josh Allen to have a running back.
Great.
I really want to see that.
That's
team.
where his bro is, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That'd be cool.
specifically, I was hearing, I guess so, but I was also hearing the idea, since they play the same position, they would be taking away from each other's plates.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
but I don't think that I don't think that the brother's a starter. I think he's the third down taking
Well,
he's
then
more-
talk about a shot to the gut by bringing in his older brother and saying, "Hey, bro, you're not as good." You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you got to do if they will.
You gotta do what's best for the team, for sure. It's business, but
And then Clowney going to Jags. That's a nice one, man. I know.
Is
he's
it? Is it?
I mean, he's okay. It depends on what they sign him for.
I mean,
It's just another piece to load that line up. That line could be really good.
the Jags are spending money. They're trying hard. So I mean,
they've been swinging for the fences the last couple of years.
And
Yeah,
they
I mean,
kind of hit.
it's a
on
good-
all of
it's
them
a good-
too.
I'm sure if I was the Jags, I'd be happy
Urban
about it.
Meyer.
Fuck,
Stupid
dude.
Urban
You
Meyer.
set that whole team back by a whole year.
So
dude.
bad, yeah, dude.
If Peterson would have been the coach
right then,
2
yeah,
years
no,
ago,
I-
dude,
it-
we'd
yeah.
be talking about a whole different Jags.
Lawrence's
Man.
ascension to the top of the
Yes.
QB pile would be a lot closer for sure.
Correct, 100%,
Like-
Chuck. I love that call. Any other NFL things you guys want to pop off before we dive into? Oh yeah, Chuck. What free agents are also
Do a
selling?
couple other ones specifically in the running back market. Kareem Hunt has been taking visits but hasn't signed anywhere. He still can be an 800 to 1,000 yard rusher, and he plays great in the pass game. Like very surprising.
Clowney was offered a contract by the Jags. Sorry, Chuck. Clowney was offered.
He was,
by
okay.
by the Ravens. Sorry, by the Ravens offered it. It didn't say what the offer was. But
They can't have much money, so probably close to the veterans minimum, which I think is like 1.5 or 2, something like that per year.
I think last year he got like a 10 spot, so we'll see what he
Yeah,
says.
so
Sorry, Chuck.
no, you're so good. Zeke is still out there.
I thought
Waiting
that
to be
the-
signed. Leonard Fournette as
I
well.
thought-
Those are two big running back names that have proven
Yeah.
legs in the NFL.
You're thinking that we're seeing, waiting to see if you get like an injury at a back spot, and just because they're more like going to be pounders. Zeke's a really good pass blocker though.
Sure.
And is Leonard going to want, like, is he going to be, my one worry with Fournette is that before he played with Tom, I was worried that he wasn't necessarily there all the time.
Well,
Like giving you the 100% all the time, you know? Yeah.
And I think those guys are kind of, like you led to, with the waiting for an injury because that's their best opportunity to get the most that they can.
Yeah.
well, yeah, and the opportunity to be plugged in instantly and not have to fight for a roster spot or share time. You know, most of these guys are not going to want to be the 2-3 back kind of thing where they come in for a play or two through a drive.
Well,
like,
the Fournette and Mike, that's what those guys
they're going to
might
have
be
to.
left.
You're going to have to. It's
You're kind of like the short yardage guy.
wants to
Zeke
play.
doesn't have that. Zeke doesn't have that explosiveness. He lost that a long time ago.
It's
He's
the
straight.
unfortunate event of like at that position, youth will always win out. Speed, you can't teach speed.
Nope.
Once that starts going away, it's not like the secondary where you can learn, you can be more of a heady player. No, athleticism is the number one thing you need to be a running back for sure. Now, don't get me wrong, brains are absolutely a huge part of that, but you got to be faster than everybody and hopefully a little bit stronger. Like,
Well, yeah, those guys could still pound the rock. So you got like a spell roll, a goal line roll is what would be best.
what?
Who
Yeah,
else
and
saw
why
it?
wouldn't you just pick a contender and be like, here, throw me $3 million.
That's what I was
I'll
saying.
fucking smash on you, get 8-10 touchdowns for you, touch the ball maybe 50 to 100 times, like, you know, and see if we can push for a chip. Like,
Yep, 100%.
That should be the play.
Who else is on that list, Charles?
oh man, a couple of like Jarvis Landry. Like, I know it sounds like he's been around for a million years. He's only like 31, 32.
Maybe
He's
a nice little
actually
slot dude
he's
for
got
somebody.
hands too. I'm very surprised he's out there for
I am too.
the cheap amount that you could get him. Some defensive players. We've got Melvin Ingram. I think I don't know why we haven't brought him in for a workout. We are hurting at linebacker. Like, I wouldn't be against that. Kyle Van Noy is still out there. Shout out to McQueen, by the way.
He was rumored that maybe Josh McDaniels, since our linebacking core is
back to the Raiders, or like back with the Raiders. Okay.
because of Josh.
He
being
knows
with
the
Patriot-
scheme.
with being with the
Right,
Patriots,
absolutely. And then we got Isaiah Rodgers and Ronald Darby, his name out there for cornerback. He's older. Once again, that's one of those guys that he has lost his step, but super heady. He knows how to play coverage. Like, it's just very surprising to see these guys that you could all probably get for $4 million and under for 1 year are not getting contracts.
Hopefully, we'll see. I mean, these guys all might have already we don't know if they even had offers. They might have had offers and then just be like, we're holding out.
That's
to
true.
see."
That's true. But that's a pretty heavy list, you guys. I'm telling you. There's
Clowney
there's
and
some
Cook
names.
being still, I'm surprised that Cook is out there just like you, Chuck. Clowney, I think we've just said it. He's like a merc, but he's not that great of a merc. Like
He has, ever since he left Houston and he came to Seattle.
he was with the Browns for the last 2 years, right?
And he also spent time with who else was he with?
I think
Titans.
Titans,
The
yeah.
Titans.
For a
Yeah.
little bit, yeah. Let's jump into some NBA talk. So.
The Hall of Fame inductee. Just
Yeah,
happened.
so but it's not. Remember, for the NBA, it's not the NBA Hall of Fame. It is the Basketball Hall of Fame. So it has to do with your collegiate, your overseas, everything that you do basketball-wise goes into this. But there are 4 NBA players that went in, along with a bunch of other people we'll talk about. These 4 players, I think, were pretty big for us watching b-ball at this point in time with Dirk, with the Mavs, Tony Parker with the Spurs, Powell, obviously he played with the Lakers for most. That's where everybody knows him from. He played on a bunch of teams afterwards, and then D-Wade. Obviously with the Heat, he was with the Cavs.
Didn't Gasol come up with the Grizzlies? He got swapped for his brother, right? His brother swapped from.
Yeah, and then Powell was like with the Bulls for a little bit after.
That's right.
But let's talk about those 4 guys. Let's talk about Dirk. What do you guys most remember about Dirk?
I mean, he had a lot of individual accomplishments, but the losing to the Heat, that one year, and then coming back and beating them the next year for the championship. That was, as far as the players that are inducted this season, like, that's probably the biggest, like, championship win. I mean, the Heat, Wade's got 3, but I don't know if any of those 3 are as big as that one.
Yeah, because that was the first year that Miami team was together and Dirk came out and beat them. Remember, they were making fun of him, and then they lost to him because then they went and beat the Spurs, and then lost to the Spurs, and then beat somebody else, right? Who'd they beat the second time?
Oh, they beat the Thunder, baby.
Oh, that's right.
That was that was the first one was against the Thunder. I was pulling hard for them to beat them.
Oh, that's right.
Oh my God.
I remember Dirk just being just that shot, dude, that fadeaway shot, that tall, and he also one of the first big dudes that we saw with the jump shot.
Stretch 4. He changed the game of basketball.
Him and Steve Nash, and then Nash goes to the Suns. But man, I did like watching Dirk play a lot. And Trev, you're right. Tony Parker had a lot of championships. Powell played a really big role, but that one win of Dirk with Dirk winning that championship,
he
that's
was
pretty big.
The dude. He said, "Get on my back, we're going." And we haven't seen a performance like that basically since. We've been in the super team or the dynamic duo, whatever era you want to call it. Every team since has had at least 2 All-Stars, if not 3. It was just him,
but not just All-Stars, like top.
Yeah, All NBA,
Yes.
All NBA first teamers, second teamers, that kind of thing for sure. It's not to say that some of these teams weren't homegrown, or the Warriors did it with Steph and Clay, who were draft picks, and then same with Giannis and that team out there in Milwaukee. That was other than Drew Holiday, that was an acquisition that put them over the hump, but they were a crafted team through. So you can't shit on those teams who have done it that way. It's good that they became a super team through the draft. They did exactly the way you're supposed to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Dirk really did push the way
Change
forward.
the game. Change the game.
Especially for international players too.
There were definitely some ballers in the '90s, but he made it a thing. He was a thing. Dirk Nowitzki is a top maybe 10, 15 player of all time if you really break it down. As far as stats, meaningfulness to the game, he did get a chip, which is big. That is a big chip. Stud.
Next name on the list, T. Parker, point guard for the Spurs.
From France, another international player.
Yep, there's 3 of them. 3 of these 4 dudes we're talking about international. Yeah. Tony Parker was just such a great point guard for those teams. Yep. I know he had Duncan and he had Ginobili and he had other pieces, but Tony Parker ran that offense. He played good defense. He was another fun player to watch. I know they were kind of the mundane Spurs, but man, Tony Parker was very execution style.
Yeah, integral parts of that team.
Integral part.
Dude, those San Antonio, you call it boring. I loved watching that basketball. I loved
I did too, but
I loved Duncan. I loved Pop. I loved that whole era of the Spurs. If I were to, say that's pure basketball right there, man. On both sides of the court, you got a hell of a head coach. Parker was very influential as well when it comes to, this is going to sound crazy because he didn't score as much, but he was a better version of AI.
He could score.
He facilitated like that, and he didn't shoot as much, which was good because Ginobili was there, and they had didn't Kawhi in later years. They had other offensive weapons, but he could dial it up. He could blow right by you.
Yep.
And from the top of the key, 1-2 step, and he's at the cup, and up and unders and all sorts of crazy shit. And a great passer too. No, well earned to Mr. Parker. I think he's got 3 or 4 chips.
He's 4.
3 or 4.
3 or 4.
Yeah. So big ups.
Yeah, and you bring up Popovich, active and entered into the Hall of Fame.
Correct.
Well deserved. My God, dude, Pop is the man. He should just retire. Good God.
Pau Gasol, next name. I just remember watching when him and Kobe got together, and just his ability to be a stretch four as well, shoot it, but also take over underneath if he needed to. And then when Bynum was healthy, you had both of them down there. But watching Powell play was awesome. He was such a technical player. I mean, I guess all three of them were technical.
He's a medical doctor too, man. The guy's an MD, a certified MD. Like, the guy's so fucking smart. Like, damn.
Love some Pau Gasol.
Right? No, he's a good dude and a great basketball player. Another well-deserved entry that, like, they were saying this. Between these four, as we are also going to mention Dwayne Wade, that is like, dude,
it's a nice Hall of
There's
Fame
no fall
class,
off right there.
Great
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
Well, let's just jump into D Wade. Like, I remember him coming out of Marquette and being this like super explosive,
I remember
like,
him in
dude,
Marquette,
and he
too.
was just dunking on everybody. And then the champion with Shaq is the one I really remember. I know he got the two more with LeBron, but the one with him and Shaq, that was a fun team to watch.
It was, dude. That's what my boy GP got his ring.
Yep, on that team as well.
Absolutely. Wade was the model of consistency right there. Like,
He got hurt a lot towards the end of his career.
That's why he retired when he did, for sure. He tried that Chicago run that didn't really work out for him, but
Yeah.
he's an iconic Heat player. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
He's a huge,
Probably the biggest Heat player. One of them. I mean,
one of them, yes,
Morney
exactly.
maybe up there, but I mean, D Wade's definitely up there.
Yeah, he's on the Mount Rushmore for sure. And like you said, 3 chips. Those seasons with LeBron were insane. They were both statistical monsters. So I think that Dwayne Wade was he just seems like a completely approachable and likable guy, even though he's a 1%er. I've always kind of been a fan of D Wade.
Yeah, and he also he doesn't get enough credit for taking a back seat too. He let it was his team, and then when LeBron got there, he let LeBron. He told LeBron, dude, this is your team now. You need to take over, and that's pretty big on him. Not also caring about that, also letting everybody know that LeBron's team.
Boys in the Hall of Fame with 3 rings on, man. I'd say he did it right. You know what I mean? Hubris can only get you so far. Do you want money and status, or you want chips? You can't typically always have 3. Sometimes you can, but that's normally not how it works.
A couple other names that went in. I think Chuck already mentioned Pop went in.
That was Trev.
Trev mentioned Pop, and then also Becky Hammond went in. And
shout out, dude.
She's done some really good stuff throughout basketball.
Won a chip as a coach. Yep.
And Jim Valvano went in as well. NC State coach.
Oh my God, dude.
That speech is
it's still to this day. Yeah, they do V Week. I know anybody who's listened to ESPN for a substantial amount of time knows what V Week is. It's when they raise money under the Jimmy Valvano banner during the week of the ESPYs. And dude, that speech, if it doesn't get you in the gut, you don't even need to be a sports person.
No.
To be fair, it's just just a life conversation, and it is so powerful, dude. Listen to it. Yeah, I do. Every time, at least once during that week, I make sure when they're like, we're going to play this speech, I will sit in my car and listen to it. I try to make it at least that once a year. It's great. Valvano, just survive in advance, baby. Survive in advance.
Cheers to you guys that made the Hall of Fame. Hell of an
Absolutely. That's definitely something to drink to. All 4 of those guys are ballers.
In other basketball news, Sixers plan to not trade Harden at this point, is what they're saying. Trade talks have ended, and now it's reported that Harden will not show up for camp when camp starts.
Or he'll show up looking like a cinnamon roll.
All fat like he did for.
He Eddie laces himself real quick.
So I know Harden's one of our favorite people to talk about on this podcast. Other than that, that's about where we're at in basketball. Guys, we'll start. When does camp start, Chuck? Do you know? They start doing
for basketball?
Yeah.
Oh shit, dude. Preseason will kick off in another couple of weeks.
Right. That's
because they start the regular season in September.
Is it? No, it's
or not September. In October.
Right,
October. I'm sorry. Yeah. They have a very short off season, man. The NBA is almost all go.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into some baseball, boys. Show is missing his next start. Arm fatigue, they're saying.
Makes sense.
So we'll see what happens there. We'll keep you updated. I'd like to see Angels basically, I think, are done. We'll kind of throw out some numbers in a little bit on that. But he did hit number 41. But he did lose the lead to Matt Olson, who hit another one tonight, who's at number 43 right now on the year. So Show's still in the OPS leader, but Olson's climbing that rank. And Olson is also 17 ahead in RBIs, too, so suck it there, Hayes. So both of them have a hell of a year.
But there's still not a way. It doesn't even matter if he outpaces him in homers. There's not a shot that Ohtani doesn't get the MVP, right? There's not even. You can't even consider it.
I guess we'd have to really look for the AL. I don't think you could for this year. What he's done offensively and.
I guess that's true because they do AL NL. That's true. They're not necessarily in competition with one another.
I think Olson might have is like him and Acuna are basically the 1 and 2 right now, and they're on the same fucking team. I mean, fuck, when you look at this
That's great, man. Talk about it. That's awesome. What an in-house competition that must be.
Well, they're the 1 and 2 of RBIs. Me and Trevor looking at RBIs. Olson's at 107. Number 2
is Acuna.
Ozzy Albies. So it's a second base. It's not even Acuna. Acuna's in another category. He got another stolen base tonight, though, too.
Braves, dude.
So Braves are fucking hot right now.
Yeah, man.
So keep your eye out for that. The races are getting close. We'll update you in another week or two. There's not much moved since we talked about it last week. But keep your eyes. It's real close. There is like a 5 to 6 teams in the NL and AL wild card right now of how close it can be.
So good.
Wild
card races are the best.
1 week of bad baseball, dude, could put you fucking
back
in
behind.
Or out.
For sure. Every day you look up at the scroller and you're like, oh, did we win or did we lose? Like, if you see too many losses in a row, you don't want to look at the standings. You're just falling games back. Meaningful games back.
And just checking them right here. You got obviously Tampa's number 1 wild card, Houston 2, Toronto 3. But you got Seattle at 1.5 back, Boston's at 3 back.
We lost today.
And New York's at 5 back. So the AL's not quite. You only got really 3 teams vying, and I don't know about the Yankees if they're vying anymore, boys. I think they might be toasted. They're 5 back.
I'm okay with that. That makes me way happy.
I would rather see Houston fall out and you guys get in, but I don't know. You guys are 1.5 back from Toronto.
We just gotta stay. We gotta stay on the course. This is exactly kind of what had happened last year. So I mean. I don't think we're catching the Rangers for the division, so we're going to have to seek one of those wild cards.
Houston's 2 back on the division, Chuck. Talking about that division. Okay. I just looked at that.
The AL West is there, man. They can put 3 teams in the offs.
It is, dude.
Yeah.
NL-wise, Atlanta, LA, and Milwaukee are division leaders. Philly, San Francisco Giants are now in the wild card hunt, and the Miami Marlins. So the Phillies start out weak and are now like top wild card.
Speaking of the Miami Marlins, real quick, they did their Florida Marlins throwback this weekend, and it looks so good.
All throwbacks look sick, dude.
Most of them.
I
was a huge fan. I'm a huge fan. Like, that teal is bright and loud. Like, I remember the Florida Marlins, dude. Josh Beckett.
You know what jerseys suck? Are these fucking like city jerseys. Boston City jersey with the yellow.
I really love my City Connect jersey. I got the City Connect hat. I'm gonna bust it out here.
Some of them are good and some are bad, but dude, the Boston one with the yellow and light blue. What the
fucking San Diego one that looks like Miami.
Yeah,
that looks like a cross between like Rugrats and fucking Miami Vice.
Yeah,
like, it's all
colors are important.
They're traditional. They matter as well. They do.
So you got Philly, San Francisco, Miami, and then only listen to this: half game out Chicago Cubs, half game out Cincinnati Reds.
Dude, Ellie De La Cruz trying to do it, man.
Arizona's now 2.5 out.
And they were cooking there for a minute, so they've kind of cooled down.
And San Diego 5.5 out, Chuck. So San Diego's probably.
We were all high on the pods, though. We were.
Well, we should be.
Yeah, that roster screams playoffs for sure.
Fucking roster's loaded, dude. They should be. They're going to go down.
But we got about 50 games left in the season?
No,
roughly? No, I thought it was
30, and then you got about, maybe 50.
It's like 45 to 50, somewhere there. You're always a couple of
I think
games.
it's like 45, yeah. Because we're at August 13th. I bet it's closer to 40 than 45.
Running around the corner, dude. Coming around third.
Dude, coming in hot in the playoff run.
Dope.
It's going to be a good one, especially with like how close it is. Like with the Mariners being that close. Freaking, you got the Cubs and the Reds are only a half game out in that run. That's pretty interesting as well. So keep your eye out for all the baseball stuff. Also keep your eye out for the football free agencies, or like even these guys that are holding out. See what kind of contracts they get. I mean, Raiders
They could impact whichever team that they sign with. There could be a very impactful signing in the next couple of weeks.
Raiders, if they have any chance of making the playoffs, is only with Jacobs. Chris Jones is an integral part of that Chiefs defense. He's got to be there for them. Dalvin, wherever he signs, he's giving them an extra leg.
Two legs.
So it's going to be interesting. I don't know if anybody at Clowney, maybe Bosa needs to sign. Niners need to get Bosa on.
He'll get on the field. No worries there. But so segment 2, we're going to come back. We're going to give you 5 storylines that we are going to each individualize and give our take on and see how we feel about it. Overarching stories coming into the season.
Yeah, just things to look out for, basically.
Oh yeah.
See you after our break. Cheers, guys. I got a little bit left.
One
Cheers.
more. We got it.
Bottoms up.
Also, let us know if you guys go out and find these beers and try them. Let us know what you think of them.
In fact, you should.
Yeah, they're tasty as fuck. All right, everybody. We'll see you in a little bit. Welcome back to Balls and Brews. Cheers, boys.
Cheers, everybody.
Definitely different color than we were drinking last time.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So, Palm Sway is the beer. It's by Coronado. They are out of Coronado, California. So, pretty straightforward name. Island IPA is what it is pitched as. Juicy, tropical, citrusy. What do you guys say?
Go first, Trevor.
I mean, this is kind of what I think of for a standard tropical IPA. This is kind of what comes to mind.
I do too. It's got a little bit of that juicy, but it's not super juicy. You still have the hoppy notes.
I think it's well balanced, to be fair. It drinks at 6.5.
6.5?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's an abuse of hops.
No.
I like a hoppy beer, but I also don't want to just chew on a hop. Quite good, Coronado. I do get hints of juicy, tropical, and citrus.
I definitely do. A little bit of each one, for sure.
Not overpowered. So definitely 2 for 2 on the beers. I feel like we don't really miss on this pod,
No, all our beers are usually pretty damn good.
You're drinking some nice beers.
Fuck yeah. All right, let's jump into it's 5 storylines, 5 things to watch out for.
These are just off the top too. These aren't necessarily ones that you've heard over and over again. These are just ones that we have come to our conclusions and we're going to talk about. So we'd like to hear your opinion on these storylines as well, or if you have some storylines that you're super curious about going into the NFL season. Let's go down and give us one.
I'll start
us off.
The loss of Shane Steichen from the Eagles.
Ooh.
I'll talk about the DC in a little bit, but more the loss of him. Losing 2 coordinators, but you lose him. Jalen Hurts just came into his own. Do we see a regression in Jalen Hurts, with Brian Daboll leaving the Bills? We saw a little bit of a regression in Josh Allen. Also, the Eagles also have a harder schedule this year.
Right.
So that is a big thing, too. And you lost your D coordinator. I know the D coordinator is a big thing, but I think the loss of Shane Steichen, I'm really wondering how much that affects, because he was a play caller and everything for that team last year. I know their schedule is going to be a lot harder, but does Jalen Hurts have a regression? So I think that's something to watch out for throughout the year. What do you think?
That was actually one of my past takes, and that's why I chose the Cowboys to win that division, is because you have both the coordinators gone. They lost a couple free agents. You have a tougher schedule. The NFC is softer than the AFC, so I still expect the Eagles to make the playoffs. But I do see a little bit of a regression happening.
Well, and they also now you're flipping the script from the hunter to the hunted. They are going in with heavy. Whenever you're heavy favorites, teams know that and they want to knock you off your perch. You're going to get the best shot out of every team that you play, regardless of if it's the Lions, if it's the Chiefs, if it's the Steelers or anybody, they're gonna want to give you that number one punch, right, and let everybody know,
100%.
look, we took down the Eagles. So I think that's a great take. Actually, I think a lot of people overlook coaching more than they should, because that roster didn't really turn over a lot, but new schemes and new schematics and getting used to new coaches and cadences and play calls, and there's a lot more that goes into it than people really think. That's a fucking good story, number one, right there. That could the Eagles will naturally regress because A, of the Super Bowl hangover, and B, simply because of a tougher schedule.
Trev, what you got for your first one there, pal?
So I was kind of all over the place when I was coming up with these. So I just kind of jotted down like some ideas I had. And one of the things was we talked about the Pac-12 dissolving pretty much last month.
Yeah, it did, for sure.
And that idea just led me to thinking that the playoff is going to change. We haven't seen a 12-team playoff yet, but I think that was put in place with the mind that having a Power 5, and that's not around anymore. So I think that we could be looking for another change coming in the playoff picture. I think the teams will be reduced. It just depends by how much, because
You're talking college specifically now, right?
I'm just talking college football.
Okay.
Yes. So Chip Kelly brought it up earlier in the week that I saw that he was saying that football should have, like, hindsight, should have had just went independent like Notre Dame did for football because of what it's done to the conferences. And now, since the Pac-12 isn't anymore, the SEC and the Big Ten have the most power. And do they want to flex that power?
Big 12 is not far off either. Those are the big three right now.
Well, the Big 12 I put closer to the ACC, and conferences that they'll hang on for a while because the way that it's currently set up. But if that setup changes for the playoff, I could see the Big Ten and the SEC kind of pushing them
Everybody out,
Yeah,
What do you
don't
think?
know if you can. I don't think it can go down from 12.
You don't think so?
Once they sign 12, it's going to stay 12 because the money's there
You're
now.
never gonna. That's true. You never take away games.
There
You
won't
never
be-
take away.
The money's already going to be.
It's just spewing out everywhere. Have you now seen people on other sports teams that aren't the football team saying we don't want to go to certain conferences because now they have to fly for
Yeah. Well,
they're having to give up so much more time just to perform their sport.
Well, how in the fuck is Cal or Stanford going to be in the
ACC? Yeah, no, there
They're
were
all the
4
way
teams
across
that
the
voted
country.
against it. Yeah.
That'd
The
be
Atlantic
stupid.
Coastal Conference. When you're talking 2 Bay Area,
It's
teams,
already hard
get the
enough. Well,
fuck
it's
out.
already going to be hard enough if USC has to go to fucking Rutgers
Yeah.
or Maryland. That's all the way across. The big, it's still not just the Midwest. It's not
Right.
just
No, the
Michigan
big-
and Ohio
yeah,
State.
agreed.
There's like a fucking whole nother half a country that you have to fly to.
Yeah, with the money, it's no longer the student athlete; it's the athlete.
It's the athlete. It's the money. Oh my God! We've gotten there, and now we're just not we're not pulling any punches. We're not hiding anymore. I agree with you, Zach. It will never go back down. They will never take away. Hopefully, they can find a way to make it fair.
Maybe they might do
because-
something different if they end up like getting away from the conferences and going
Or
to
if
an
it's just
NFL
like
type.
12 SEC teams that make it every year or some shit.
Well, it'd be like
I know
going-
that's physically impossible.
It'd
but
be
I'm
going
just
to
saying.
like an NFL type conference. That's what it'd have to go to. That's
yeah.
what they should be going to.
I just, with the Big Ten and the SEC having the most power, if they wanted to, they could make it so that it does become 2 conferences like the National Football League. And, I mean, they can push for it in the playoffs, saying that they need a more automatic bids, and that's why I think the playoff could change.
And we'll see. I think the only way the playoff changes if they would really have to change landscapes, like you said, it would have to dissolve ACC and the Big 12 to go to the SEC and the Big 10. It'd have to be something crazy like that.
I don't think we'll ever get to where there's just 2. Do you really think it'd just be AFC, NFC kind of thing?
Well, I think that that's the way it should be, and they should do a better job of dropping some of these teams and maybe keeping the conferences set up like they were with the Big 5, but once you football, you just change it. and you kick some of these teams down. Like you kick teams down the Mountain West. You kick teams down to.
So football is built on its own
2 feet.
It should be. It should be.
And you
the
literally
way that it is
like
sacrificing other things to make football work. It does suck to be those other student athletes.
And you literally
you
literally come up with a competition committee that comes up with how we put them in is we're going to look at your like last so many years, because it doesn't matter about fucking history. Nebraska maybe doesn't even deserve to be in the fucker because they haven't been good for a while.
It's been a long
just
time
because they're
Nebraska's
Nebraska, and it sucks to say that.
No, they haven't been relevant since the 90s.
They haven't been relevant since Eric Crouch.
Yeah.
So maybe Nebraska, but you have to take recent years, maybe you take up to 5 years, and you find schedules. And then if you have like, and you just start chopping at that point. And then if you come to some of these teams like, well, actually, we really can't chop this team because maybe it is somebody that's just had like a downturn, maybe like Florida, right?
Sure.
You got chop and fluck in Florida. Florida over the last 3 or 4 years might suck, but all you got to do is just find somebody to get in there and coach and recruit, and you be back in it. So maybe you look at like not topping the Floridas, but some of these other teams, you chop them, send them down to like other conferences. They can do their own thing, and you let the top dog be the top dogs.
That's why I like that whole idea about relegation. If they found a way to make that work, once ZD comes up with
light a
64
fire under
teams,
so many fucking
I
asses.
think that would be so great for college football.
Chuck,
Sports.
What you got there, pal?
So we're all mine are NFL.
Mine are
too. We're gonna swing back to the NFL. If Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs don't vibe and struggle, will they move on? Both from coach and potentially player.
I think
Diggs,
coach,
not Allen.
Coach and Diggs are. If I thought when we did our list, I would have put Sean McDermott. He was on my
on our hot seat. He's got a little toast, I would say.
But they just gave him an extension. But I do think that he has not developed an offense line or a run game, and they put a lot on Josh. Like they need to do better. And the defense, for him being a defensive coach, sometimes that defense is ranked high, but they sometimes give up really bad things at really bad times.
Fair enough.
So I do agree. I think that Coach and Diggs could be out if they don't fucking figure out a way to like be AFC Championship game or Super Bowl.
I think you got to get rid of this diva wide receiver thing, man. Like that can eat a team alive when you have to start forcing targets. When everybody knows who you got to keep happy. Not good.
Still, they're so good together.
Well, Diggs is phenomenal. He's a great receiver. Like I'm not gonna discredit him. But I don't like the way he's kind of gone about this.
Well, I mean, yes, it ended pretty rough, but we got a new season ahead of us, so we'll see how that
Yeah, we need to turn the fucking corner, Turn the goddamn page.
Turn the goddamn page.
Yeah, I agree. This is kind of a pivotal year for Buffalo.
Oh, it has to be.
I think it's a huge year for Buffalo.
They were, last year, remember this time? Their hype that they were getting, everybody was like,
Buffalo
could go 17-0. They could
I was on
their
the
God's
hype.
gift to football.
I was on the hype. I love the way that Josh plays, but no run game. And and then he got hurt last year, which people forget. His elbow was all fucked up for a little bit. So, I think this is a huge year.
Stop Brock Purdy.
Well, it did. I think this is a huge year for.
Injury, right?
I think this is a huge year for the Bills.
It is. I think it is, like you said, a pivotal. It's a make or break for this era of the Bills. They have ascended to the top, and they just got to get over that hump. They made the AFC Championship game, and that was the best playoff game.
That was one of the best fucking
Oh
games
my
I've ever
God, what a game! What a game, Mahomes and Allen.
All right, so my next one on my list is
Numero dos.
It's a kind of like categories on a couple of them. Young guys that need to step up again. So I got the Seahawks down. You got a lot of second-year people on that team. Both tackles, second-year guys.
We are young.
All the cornerbacks are young.
Yep.
You got 2 from last year and Kobe.
Michael Jackson,
a
little older.
But then you also have Witherspoon. So you have a rookie and 2 other dudes that are your almost top 3 corners could be 2-year guys. I think you guys got a lot. Boy, and Mafia. So you have a huge. You guys, to be good again, you need all these young guys to have another good year. And we talk about a sophomore slump a lot. So if you get a sophomore slump from your tackles, that means Geno's fucked. That means the fucking running game's fucked. Kenneth Walker needs to have another year. You have Zach Charbonnet in the backfield as well. You are at the mercy of the young kid, really.
Which is the best, because what it means is even if we're unsuccessful this year, there's a core of talent there. Like, they will bond and they will come together. Like, there's too much potential for true failure. I could be wrong. We are a crazy team. We could go 13-4. We could go 4-13. Like, we have such an erratic roster. I love your highlights. I appreciate all of the call-outs, and a lot of that is 100% true. Like, none of these guys are established. We had a hell of a year last year. We're ahead of schedule, but they could slump, and if they do, that'd be bad.
I got one other team. I got one other team in this same category as the Jets. You got Sauce is going to obviously a stud, but Cedric Wilson.
He could slump.
Beckman.
He could slump.
I don't think so, bro.
Beckman.
I don't think so, bro.
Beckman has
He's
never
the dude.
played.
Iron sharpens iron.
He's
Sauce
a
and
bad
Wilson
man.
Yeah, I think
against each
he's a
other.
bad man. They need Mekhi Beckman to play. He hasn't played since his rookie year, really.
They're
Offensive
banking on
line is
him
the
and
issue.
Dwayne Brown at tackles, dude.
Vera Tucker is a stud from SC, but they need him to. He's the better guard. He's like
Right.
he is
Absolutely.
he's a way good guard. He's just a so-so tackle. They need to keep him at guard. So the Jets have a lot of young pieces from this draft as well that they're relying on Will McDonald, their first-round pick, to get pressure on the quarterback, just to add to that defense. But I think these two teams need these young guys to step up again. Otherwise, they're not making the playoffs again. Or the Jets not necessarily again, but with Aaron, it's projected they make playoffs. So that's my two. That's my number. That's not my second thing, but it's just another idea to keep your eye out on these two young teams. I think they're the two of the better young teams, but you got to do it again. Sophomore slumps could take these two teams down. You guys' opinions? Trev, go for it since Charles is
I've already commented.
on the Seahawk part.
Oh, the Seahawks. I
And
mean,
Jets.
I'm kind of hoping for the best for the Niners, so I'm hoping for the worst for them. So,
Come on, where's your impartialness? Where's your sportscaster?
I mean,
Then talk on the Jets.
the Jets. The Jets. The Jets I like. I find the Jets interesting. I think they're a great pick for Hard Knocks. The offensive line is a concern. But if Aaron can get rid of the ball quick enough, that's going to erase a lot of the problem that team has. And if that's the only problem,
You're relying on like Cedric Wilson as your number one, basically, though.
I think he can be
Garrett.
the guy, though. Like
Garrett,
I said,
Cedric's on
going
the Dolphins,
against
right?
Sauce, I think
Yep.
those two are just making each other better. Like I love the idea of taking a top wide receiver and a top corner in the same draft and just making them go against
That's
each
what
other.
we did with Witherspoon and Smith and Jigba.
I think that's great strategy right there.
The Jets. I'm gonna. My number two storyline, just because we figured we'd overlap at some point.
Yep.
And I'm not cutting you off. It's just I
Yeah, go
will
for it.
skip my
You
second
can-
one.
yeah,
It's,
no,
does
you-
Rodgers elevate Jets to at least AFC Championship game? And how will they use the money he gave back? Because that's where I swear Dalvin Cook wasn't making it out
Well,
there without a contract.
I thought
he was going to
I
sign
did
with
too.
the Jets.
I think that they need to look offensive line, but when you were looking at that free agent list,
There were
wasn't
no
the
line. It's all
There's
defense and
there's
running backs.
There's a guard midway through the list, but I mean that's just midway through. Their offensive line is the part that's going to hold them back. It really is.
Yeah,
If
that's
Beckman
a good
can't
take.
play, their running game is going to be fine. Depending on even if they don't sign Cook, Brees Hall, Michael Carter, they're going to be good.
How long do you think Brees Hall's got though? He's not coming back week one. I don't think he's even
I think
running
week
yet, is he?
I thought it was like week 4, but maybe I'm wrong. I'd have to look. I don't know. But then you got receiver wise, I think you're okay, but you have to have him step up again, and you have to have is Lazard going to be the number 2? So I still think that I don't know if they reach the AFC Championship game. I think there's some big. I think defensively, get the fuck out. But offensively, I think they got offensive line and receiver. I think the running game is going to be
If
great.
they don't make the AFC Championship game, is it a failure? Is Rodgers' failure? Is that a failure?
Well, I don't know because if he comes back the next year, then no, because you're just going to build on like your. It depends on how you lose and get there. You can get another offensive lineman in the draft to make that better. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, watching Hard Knocks, I kind of want to root for them even more, but I do think that they're still kind of a year away. That team was young outside of Rodgers. and they do have issues, like you said, at O-line and wide receiver. Now, is there someone that like comes to mind that you think maybe they'll add with the money that Rodgers opened up for them? Is there an offensive lineman or a wide receiver maybe they go after?
Cook would have been the only guy I could have thought of.
Maybe a trade though?
For trade wise, I guess it'd be to see what happens at trade deadline if you got to go get somebody then. But I don't know because you got the kid from the Bengals. He showed up. Remember, he was all mad when they traded for that guy, but then he showed up and he's been there every day. So I can't think of it. I think that right now they're hoping that they can do with what they got and get better with what they got. I don't think there's any move they can make without making a trade. And there's not like they're not going to trade for Zach Martin, are they?
No.
So there's no other offensive
You have to
lineman.
give up way too much just to get
Right.
him from the Cowboys.
So there's no other offensive lineman that's like, right? You're not making there's no Trent Williams out there, right? Like where Trent Williams was holding out and then the Niners traded for him. There is no
Didn't
lineman
you
like
only give
that.
up like a third-round pick? It was a
Yeah,
fucking
the fucking
steal.
stupid-ass
It was a fucking
Redskins.
steal, dude.
Commanders, whatever the fuck they were when that happened.
They were the Redskins.
Timo, what's your second topic of looking out for?
So going back to college, I haven't had enough. I'm getting excited for college.
I don't blame you. We're 14 days away from week 0, baby. Which
but-
is just week 1, by the way.
week 0 is so
NCAA.
stupid.
Just call it week 1. Who cares if there's
Yes.
only 5 games? It's
Yes.
fucking week 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Go
can
Trey.
even you can even include it in the first week with everybody else's opening game.
Just call it week 1.
But the other thing that I noticed is, for college football, the transfer portal has gotten pretty crazy.
It's gone bonkers, dude.
Quarterbacks
agency.
alone,
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
was 45%, and then it went up to 62% this year of quarterbacks
That have transferred? 62%?
Yes.
That's because they're going to go play for other teams because they're not playing for
Yeah, no, I broke it
6
down
out of 10
in what
quarterbacks?
was the Power 5. 57% in the ACC are transfers. That could be the starter. 57 in the SEC, 50 in the Big 10, 64 in the Big 12, 92 in the Pac-12. And there's a chance if Stanford's quarterback, if the transfer wins that battle, it could be 100% are transfer quarterbacks. in the
Yep, think about it.
conference.
Caleb Williams, Oklahoma, Michael Penix, DJ
Bo Nix is
Nicolay.
from Auburn, yeah.
Bo Nix from Auburn.
Yeah.
So all the big dudes. Arizona and Arizona State both have transfer quarterbacks.
Wow.
So
92%.
but also what I heard in this gave me encouragement as well,
Okay.
because I think could really help college football. We were talking about guidelines for the transfer portal.
Yeah,
They need
yes.
to do so.
Yes, and I think this has kind of gone under the radar, but multi-time transfers have been denied pretty much
That
across
should
the board.
good.
So
Good.
that those players are either burning that year or redshirting it. So I think that helps limit players from keep continuing
And it
to
shouldn't
transfer.
just be a year. It shouldn't just be like, oh, I don't like this school, or I can pyramid up, basically using it to where each year you're trying to get to a bigger and bigger.
But I wonder
school.
how much higher that number is. Like the Mountain West, the kid from Nevada, one of the kids that plays at Nevada, transferred from Oklahoma State. Like in the Mountain West, it's got to be pretty high, like the Pac-12, where you got guys transferring
Sure.
into play.
No, absolutely.
Because
Everybody's
that's the best way to
transferring
get.
everywhere.
That's the best way to get your eyes on you is to
Oh, yeah.
play the game.
Is to get out there. No, and as a quarterback, that you have to start. It's the one position in all of football where you have to be selfish.
Right.
You're not in a group. You are either the starter or you don't play, unless there's an injury. There's not a sub package for QB2 more often than not. Like you had the experiments with like Lance and stuff his rookie year when you wanted to get him out there or whatever, but like. You don't see that shit. Or Hurts did that too when he was a rookie. They put him in some running plays for Carson Wentz and whatever. But like, you're either the dude or the pine rider. Like
Carson Wentz is still a free agent too.
he should be. That guy has regressed ever since that injury. He was never the same after he popped his shit.
Yep.
It sucks. I'm sorry. Like that's just the truth of the matter.
All right, my third thing I have written down is old teams. Can they do it? So I have two teams on this list.
Old teams. Define old teams.
Well, let me talk about them right now. The Rams with Kupp, Stafford, and Aaron Donald. If they're all healthy, who says that they can't pull a wild card with McVay coaching, with that with that tandem offensively, if Cam Akers can run like he did at the end of last year and run all hard like that all year, they might have something there. It's a tough division with the Hawks and with the Niners, but who says the Rams can't make a push when you have those guys on your team? Second old team I have written down is the Ravens. You got OBJ. He's now coming off his second knee injury. He's supposed to be a big part of your offense. Nelson Aguilar is starting to get up there in age. He's supposed to be he's going to be your like slot guy. Then you have your tight end, Mark. He's getting up there, and then if Andrew or Lamar's not getting up there in age, but he's got to stay healthy. So he's got kind of like an old ass body. So those are my old teams, and I think that
old ass body.
Those teams stay healthy. They should both be playoff teams. Or I mean, the Rams could sneak in staying healthy. I think the Ravens stay healthy. That's an easy playoff team. But if those two players get hurt, those teams aren't going to make. I mean, Ravens have probably a little bit better of an overall roster than the Rams, but still, the Ravens got to figure something out defensively because last year they got burnt defensively a lot on that back end, and they got Rock and Sin, who's getting a little bit older, but he's been hurt a lot too. So I know they have Humphrey, but Rock and Sin
drafted Kyle Hamilton
and he actually was a ball, and he balled out. So maybe they start, but they did give up a ton of shit over the top last year. So those are my old teams. What do you guys think?
I mean, for old teams, yes, the Ravens defense still is a bit of a question, but on paper that offense should be fire. I still see them as a playoff team if Lamar is healthy, of course. And then the other team, the Rams, like with the state of the NFC, they can easily make the playoffs if their players stay healthy too. But health is, I think, what it comes down to, especially with those older teams.
Yeah, it's all health because you're so reliant on some of these older guys once they start going down and they don't come back.
Best ability is
availability.
You gotta get on the field, gotta be there, gotta show up, gotta be active. So the Ravens, yes, easy playoff contender, even in that loaded AFC. It's crazy if you think about it. There's a scenario potentially where all four of those teams in the AFC North can make the playoffs. I think all four of those teams are somewhat legit in their own right, both on offense and defense.
Yep.
Like the Browns and the Steelers have a lot of question marks for sure, but if Pickett and Pickens and Deontay Johnson and Freiermuth come together with Najee Harris, those are some names. Those are some talents.
Their offense line's in question too.
If Deshaun Watson comes in and slays the way that he did when he was healthy acquisition
with Amari Cooper,
right?
And
Elijah Moore came in. They have David Njoku still, like Nick Chubb. Yeah, no, and then dude, I think Are you high on the Ravens? Where you put them on your?
I gotta look
because the Bengals are, if Joe Burrow comes back, okay.
That's where I'm basically at. But it is kind of interesting if Joe comes back. So what if Joe doesn't come back and all of a sudden they lose like a couple?
Then
games?
the Ravens are the team you look at, and once again it depends on the play of Lamar and that new system that they're implementing. They brought in Todd Monken from Georgia.
Yeah, they're talking about throwing it around more, not him running as much.
I mean, him running not so much would be better. Hopefully J.K. Dobbins comes back. Hopefully Gus Edwards comes back. Like when they're healthy at running back, they, like you just said, Trev, on paper, when they're healthy, that offense has nothing to worry about. Like that defense needs some pass rushers. They did sign Roquan Smith to that big deal, so they got an anchor at linebacker. And then that secondary is hit or miss. But like John Harbaugh's a hell of a coach. I have no doubt that the Ravens make the playoffs. As far as the Rams, I think that they don't have enough talent across the board. They have a good core, and they can win some games. They're going to. Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford they might not have win the Triple Crown again, but they'll have a good connection if they stay healthy. And Cam Akers should take a step forward. But overall, that defense is falling backwards. They're losing guys on the back, and they traded Jalen Ramsey. They kind of know they're seeing the signs of the rebuild pretty soon, right? Like this is the last push, so I have a lot less faith in their ability. Now they could once again. I think I was talking to you off pod, Downey, about this, that I think the only guaranteed terrible team is the Cardinals going into this year. I think every other team is kind of maybe a little lower, but in that mushy middle area versus just like, God, this team's going to be awful. Like, that's just the Cardinals going into this year. I think every other team has something to kind of perk their ears up for. But I don't think the Rams make the playoffs. I don't. Ravens, yes. Rams, no. To sum it all up.
All right.
T-Man, what's your third thing you got written down?
Okay, so going into the NFL, the Lions. I know they're the favorite to win the North, but I think a lot still has to go right for that to happen. But I am cheering so hard. I was just listening to some of the statistics like this week. Longest drought in the NFL for the playoffs. They haven't been there since '91. They haven't won a game.
No, they've been there since
they've been there.
They were with Stafford and Calvin.
Yeah,
Oh.
I beat them in the playoffs. They haven't won
That's
a
the
game.
longest, without a win.
Without
Right,
it.
okay.
The last time they won a game, it was
91.
91?
Is that what you said? Yeah, I thought that's what you said.
Maybe
Lions
I-
last one division. Oh, my bad. All right, season.
Yeah, the last time the Lions won the division was 31 years ago.
That's crazy.
That's
Raise your
pretty
hand if
nuts.
you remember that.
They didn't. They didn't. So they must have not won the division with that Stafford and Calvin Johnson team.
No, they were a wild card.
It would have had to been 31 years ago.
Yeah, that's like Rodney Peete, Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's early Sanders years.
early.
Go ahead.
I'm rooting for him too. You start looking at it and you're like, man, I know the Vikings might not have this many close games, but I think we're selling the Vikings short. And I start looking at it more and more. I think we're going to have our picks in like 2 weeks on who we actually think division winners, all this shit are. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, man, we're really selling the Vikings short. Who says the Vikings can't win the division again? I know they won a lot of close games last year, but I think that we might be selling the Vikings short, and we're kind of riding the Detroit train a little too much.
Yeah, and the Detroit train is real. This is the first time they sold out for tickets in the last 21 years.
So the city's getting behind him.
The city is behind
They're
him
saying
now.
we believe Mr. Dan Campbell. He's a hell of a coach, man. Whether win, lose, or draw, that man is a motivator. Like, I think that they've finally built a culture that you can buy into. And I know if you listen to everybody talk football or sports in general, that word culture comes up a lot. But it is a real meaningful thing when people truly believe in the idea that we are a winner. We have put together, this is a winning organization and winning time, winning team, winning coach, winning personnel. And instilling that is tough, especially in a franchise that hasn't won anything in 30 plus years or never gotten a chip overall. They have NFL championships, I believe, but we don't count those. It's the Super Bowl era. That's literally all that's considered, right? So,
Yeah.
I like you, Zach, calling out the Vikings, giving them a shout for the NFC North because they're not just going to hand it to the Lions.
Right.
I think that the Packers could also at least. I don't think they're going to contend for the North title, but they're going to give those two teams fits. They always do.
And I think that we've touched on this, like how young the Packers are. If they play good, like that defense could be super scary on what they have drafted and what we consider these guys going into the draft. Offensively, they have two receivers there. Romeo Doubs and Jordan Love seem like they're on the same page. They had a nice hookup this weekend in preseason.
Beautiful.
So they seem like they have a nice hookup. And I think that we also forget that Romeo Doubs and Jordan Love and Christian Watson all were together last preseason because Aaron didn't come out and do any of this. So there's still a little chemistry building from last year as well. So I do, and I've called it out that I think the Packers could be cracked, like you said with the Rams, could sniff that fucking last playoff seed.
They could push. They're not contenders, but they're going to be a gnat, a fly.
And when you look at their schedule too, a lot of stuff can come down the schedule. When you play people, where you play people, and they have a schedule that could be very sympathetic to what they need to get done.
Yeah, that division is up for grabs.
Which is cool. I love that.
Chuck, what's your third thing you have written
Third
down?
story. You guys, all right, so this has been kind of sprinkled throughout our common sense and something that I hope happens in the upcoming seasons, whatever you want to call it. Will the NFL put more regulations on gambling, put in harsher penalties, or find some way to regulate this? Because there's going to be more stories that come out, and there's going to be guys that get suspended, and there's going to be stories, and there's going to be whispers, and there's going to be all this bullshit, and who knows when it's going to break. But I guarantee you we haven't seen, like, the full ramifications of the true, just like, there's sports books in the stadiums now, you guys. They're full lean into this.
Oh, yeah.
So
I think
they have to find a way to clamp it down and make sure that it doesn't overrun the organizations.
I think that the suspensions are actually good with what they have now, with the games that they're doing now. I also think that I think the NFL is taking the right step on that. DraftKings and everybody else is going to find out. You can't lie. Like, I don't.
They will track you down one way or another. The bet's got to get placed. If you want the payout, the bet's got to get placed.
We're going to talk about it again in Common Sense with more stuff with the Iowa State, but they have the numbers. We're going to go over what the numbers are. They know. The gambling boards.
So what do they do? What can the NFL do to?
I just think that you're just going to try to talk about it more. I think they're just going to present more. Hey, don't gamble on site. You're just going to try to educate the players more.
Don't gamble. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't. If you are a professional athlete, whilst you're playing, you should not be gambling. Even if you're not playing in the game, like there.
Well, I don't think you should be able to gamble on NFL.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't care if you're gambling on
MLB. Sure. Fair enough. All right. So cross sports is fine. Same sport, obviously.
Yeah, and I think you're just going to have to try.
That's pretty easy.
I think you're just going to have to try to teach more. I think that the suspensions are good numbers, and I think they work hard at, like, DraftKings and all these motherfuckers aren't going to let this shit go. If you're doing it legally through bookies and all that shit anyway, then you probably
the people that you just referenced want to stay on the up and up. They're making buku bucks. They're not going down for one better.
Right.
Like, they have a network that they're trying to sustain.
So I think the NFL is okay with it right now. I think that this year there's just been more people got caught, and I think that these players just.
Do you think it's going to be an example? Do you think that people are going to learn? Do you think that it's
you're
going
still
to
have people that are going to do it? But yeah, none of them other than the kid for the Lions has been like a really big player. Everybody else has been like.
Jameson Williams has one of the most disappointing starts to any fucking first round pick in like the last couple of years.
He came back later than he was supposed to last year. He was okay.
Right. And then he caught one pass for a touchdown and then dropped the other one.
And then this year he was supposed to be like the number one.
Right,
or
he was
two
supposed to be the guy coming
round.
in, and he hits that 6-game suspension to start the season.
Trev,
draft low.
What do you think on the gambling?
I mean, yeah, obviously they're cracking down on it, not just the NFL, but college too. And
they definitely should on college. Good God.
Yeah, and I think that's just kind of, they're trying to set the precedent so it doesn't get out of control, because obviously it's going on, and they're trying to work it out now before it gets any worse.
Yep.
That's all I really have.
I mean, yeah, you can't beat a dead horse. I just think that the NFL needs to really take a deep look into how regulation of that's going to work. That's my big storyline, number 3. What you got?
My 4th thing I've written down is I have it called This is the Year, and I have written down 4 quarterbacks. I got Justin Fields for the Bears. It's a guy, this is the year. This is the year that we find out if he's like the dude or not. If he's...
I think he is.
They have the weapons.
I think he's going to be the truth.
They have all the weapons around him. This is it. I wrote Trevor Lawrence. Last year he came out and balled out. If he does it again, then I think he's in that like top 10 easy. I already have him up there, but I think we need maybe one more year of him balling out. Trey Lance. He's either not playing for the Niners after this, or we got to see something. He's either backing up for the rest of his career.
Yeah, it's a very tough road.
And then my last one I've written down. I'm not high on him at all, and I thought last year was this the year for him. But Daniel Jones, I still think that are we going to see it again in the Dayball offense? I don't think he was worth the money they gave him. I thought that was a huge mistake. So I still think he needs to perform one more year. What are you guys thinking?
Go for it, Mike.
For a lot of those guys, this is make it or break it. I feel like, some of those contracts have been rewarded, but it's really this year will show whether it's either they made the right investment or not.
Well, T-Law still hasn't gotten his second contract, right? He's going to be due the following year, like at the end of this year.
This is his third year,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, so he's going to be fine. I think he balls. I also think that Fields is going to explode. I really do. I think that they have honed in. They're like, you're the dude. We have put in what we thought is a good package around you. We have brought in guys, specifically a wide receiver one, like that you can build chemistry with. I think Fields is going to light shit up. I think Trey Lance is. He has this preseason, man, and you better do something better.
He's trying to make his job for somewhere else.
You got to put something good on film, dude. Whether it's for the Niners or you got to, your core that. Oof. And I'm higher on Daniel Jones than you are, sir. To be fair, I think that with Saquon taking the selfless route and him coming back and him being hungry with Darren Waller, with Tillman that they drafted out of Tennessee. They got rid of Kenny Galladay.
Hyatt.
Oh, Hyatt, that's right. Sorry, Jalen Hyatt, the other Tennessee wide receiver. But I think that they reinvested into that. Did they give Danny more money than he should have gotten? Probably. But that was the move. Where else were you going to go, New York? Like, I get it. And surprisingly good on his feet. He got like 700 yards and 6 tutties on his feet, 7 tutties, something like that. Like, surprisingly good on his feet. So, I mean, Jones is taken care of in the fact that he got that contract, but we'll see if it bites the Giants in the ass. It absolutely could. 2 will definitely ball. Lance needs help, and Jones does need to prove it.
Cool. What do you got, Trev, as your 4th thing written down, brother?
Come on, brother.
I mean, this was just kind of something I noticed. I don't know. I'm probably not the only one.
Probably not.
Russell Wilson
is a dude.
I mean, I think he is a fucking robot. Like, I think ChatGPT was like modeled after this man. It's just so generic, and it's been that way when it was on Seattle
since day one.
Yeah, day one. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Let's Ride was like AI generated.
You said
Russell
that,
Wilson
yeah,
all the way.
I say ChatGPT.
Russell Wilson just screams that to me, and I just hate that.
So you're basically saying like. You don't like the vanilla the team guy, if you will, where he's always saying the right things and it sounds almost fake every time.
I just feel like he's the worst one right now.
Oh yes, he has been for years, for sure. I had to defend him because he was leading my team, and you can't not have your boys back. But the way it ended in Seattle and was he corny all the time? Absolutely, all the time. I listen to way too many press conferences with that fucking guy.
How did he get Sierra?
I mean, that's another story because he's the exact opposite of Future, dude. That's why. But he's too much. You want a guy kind of in that vein that's humble, that does give you the right answers, that isn't an asshole about everything. But when it sounds like somebody just wound him up, okay, Russell, go out there. It's your presser now. You have your same 4 sentences that you say every time. Well, this game was tough, man. You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have your roller coaster moments. And when you struggle, you got to make sure you come back, and you come back harder. And then that's how we win. You win in the 4th quarter. Go Hawks. You know how many fucking pressers I heard like that? Shut up, Russ. We all saw the game. You sucked for 3 quarters and threw 2 good touchdowns with your back against the wall. That's what you did.
Yeah. A little asshole's okay. America loves that, actually.
Especially if you're the leader, that you want that, dog in a motherfucker a little bit, right?
You want that.
You ain't got the dog. All right, get some candy.
All right, Charles, what's your number 4?
Number 4 is a Raiders storyline. It's directly tied to will Josh Jacobs pull a Le'Veon and sit the whole year?
I don't know.
What's going to take to get him back there? From what I'm hearing, he's not even coming back to the building. He's not in negotiation. They tried, and now they're not. Okay. Is he going to repeat his rushing champ? Probably not. Is he going to give you another 12 to 1,400 yards?
Probably
Potentially.
so.
That's probably what you, and that's what you fucking need. Like, and that guy's not worth fucking $14, $16 million for at least this year. Find a way, if you're really worried about it, to give him this year, and then you let Zamir White looked fucking great today, by the way, for you. So,
Yep.
I mean, that could be a big deal, but like, how are you going to let Josh Jacobs just be out there when that guy was like, the reports were that he was sitting in Max Crosby's car waiting for training camp, but they wouldn't call him to sign the like they didn't want to negotiate with him past what they'd already offered him. So he just, left.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that not a big deal?
Yeah, they said 12, and they said that he didn't sign because he wanted they were way off on guaranteed money. So 12 a year, maybe it was a guarantee. It wasn't high enough.
Maybe it was like 8 within like $4 million in incentive.
But
or
I
something.
think that the Raiders don't sniff the playoffs without him. If they have a sniffing chance, anyways, it's only with him on the team.
I find it hard to believe that there would be another guy to follow Le'Veon after what happened.
Right? It was a disaster.
Disaster. And Heath even came out and said it as of recently.
Oh yeah, that is very true.
So I mean, but I could see Jacobs being very unhappy with the coaching staff. Like, I don't know, the way the running back market is, and how that kind of ended with Carr. I just there's kind of a bad taste there. It feels like
Overall, for sure.
with the Raiders. I mean, they need to win. I feel like to keep that staff in
happy.
place and that city. Yeah, you're a new team. You want to, ingratiate the city and you want the city to get behind you, and it's hard to do if you're going to be losing.
You want to keep Devontae, you better start winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Aiden O'Connell, baby, looking good.
Do you have anything more?
Nah, it's number
for the
4.
Jacobs?
You guys, I think overall, Raiders, like, don't be stupid. You need a running back, and you need this running back. He is there. Just sign him. Get it done.
100%. So my number 5 is another one I got labeled coaches holding teams back. So you got Brandon Staley on the Chargers. Kellen Moore is now the offensive coordinator, so hopefully some of those offensive woes where they seem like all of a sudden they can't move the ball. I know they had a lot of injuries last year. The offensive line should be back to being healthy.
Yeah, they're banged up big time.
Hopefully all those receivers stay healthy. We know Justin Herbert's a top 5 quarterback. Now it's time for the coaching staff, and I think the addition of Kellen Moore is huge. The next one I have written down is Bill Belichick. Is he holding that team back offensively? He did last year. Now the addition of Bill O'Brien, hopefully Bill O'Brien can get Mac Jones back to where he was at least a rookie, where he had like a pretty good year, and get him to start progressing, because last year was a total unprogression. Him being with the fucking defensive coordinators as his offensive coach, that's just you trying to be smart than everybody. And then the last one I have written down is Mike McCarthy. Not re-signing Kellen Moore, who I just talked about with the Chargers, and now he's calling plays. So his calling plays hasn't ever barely been that great. He's always had to return the play calling back to the offensive coordinator. So I think that these 3 coaches, there's a chance that they're going to be holding their team back from actually making the playoffs in all 3 instances.
I was kind of thinking something similar for the topic I had as well. I'm really interested to see Kellen Moore in that Chargers offense. With Herbert there, I just want to see how that looks. I think it could be really good.
Think of the weapons he's got too, man.
Yeah.
If Mike Williams stays healthy, if Keenan Allen stays healthy, and if Quentin Johnston is anywhere near the ball hawk that he was at TCU, you're talking about 2 elite jump artists, like with a guy who can huck a ball 70 yards on the flick of a wrist. Like, they could just run flies on you all day if they figured out the timing and the spacing, and I'm sure they're working on that daily. Like, they could be. But Staley, oh my God, his play calling, decision making, and his time management, McCarthy's time management. These guys that you're referencing have known deficiencies in their coaching abilities in certain capacities at certain times. Game awareness, situational awareness, play calling, all that kind of stuff. Fuck, man. Brandon Staley, if he doesn't take the Chargers on a run through the playoffs, you gotta let him go this offseason, right? Like you've seen what he's been able to do with Herbert. You've seen what he's been able to.
Yep.
I agree, but I have a hard time putting my faith in that ownership group. Like this,
they are pretty bad.
Schottenheimer, he went to the playoffs. He won like
when it was
11 games, I think that season.
Marty Schottenheimer, they were 13-3. They were the
13-3.
first overall. They lost in the opening round.
That was the Daniel
Tomlin.
LT and Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Gates.
That's why I
why
got rid of him. But I thought he was a good coach.
Chargers will charger.
Yeah,
Chargers will always find a way to charger.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
What's your number 5 thing there, T-Man?
Well, why don't we go to Chuck first?
We're going to do Chuck first? Number 5. Okay, so Kansas City got their second chip in 4 years, correct?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Okay, so that was their 3rd overall. My 5th storyline is, can we see a first-time Super Bowl champ? And the reason why I asked this, listen to some of these names right here. There's one specifically I think are the ones that could do it that haven't. Bills, Bengals, Lions, Jags, Chargers, and then there's also Vikings, Titans, and Browns.
There's some exciting teams just in those first numbers.
Bills, Bengals, Lions, Jags, Chargers.
The Jags, Bills, Chargers, man, those are some exciting teams this year.
I would love to see, like, if Seattle obviously doesn't do it, of course that's what I want, but if they don't do it, it's always good to see a new franchise come out and get their first chip. Like, obviously I don't want to see the Niners do anything. The Eagles had a shot last year, like we talked. I think they're going to regress. Yep. Kansas City is probably the top dog, right? Like, they have to be. They're defending, they're returning, they're the shit. They haven't not made an AFC championship game since Mahomes.
Mahomes and Reed are something different.
But I think the parity in the NFL is almost at an all-time high. We have a lot of open divisions, you guys. We have a lot of uncertainty and a lot of teams that could or couldn't. Right? So, one injury away, couple of fumbles, field goals missed, the small things that change momentums in games that, like, all of a sudden the Vikings are fucking 13-4 or whatever the hell they did last year with 11-0 and, one win game or one possession games. Yeah. So, I mean, I want to see the NFL turned on its head this year. I pull for that kind of every year unless the Seahawks are the favorite, but we're never really the favorite anymore.
And I mean, the NFL is pretty good with that parity too, so I'm sure we'll see a lot of new teams.
There's always it's like 30% of a change every year in the playoffs. Like, that's pretty sweet. That, I mean, unless you want to be one of those teams that continually makes the playoffs, but like, there's always those guys too. Like Green Bay, they just missed the playoffs for the first time. Like, the Steelers haven't had a losing season since 2003, so they're making the playoffs all the goddamn time. But let's see a new champ. If it's not Seattle, let's see a new champ.
All right, T-Man.
All right, so kind of doing this on the fly because mine was kind of similar to what Zach had. I was gonna do can the Chargers live up to the team on paper? Because they've been the Chargers and they're going to Charger, and we've kind of gone over that already. So I was going to go back to college football.
We're going back.
Going back. Like, these Trojans. Man, the transfer portal has been good, okay?
Lincoln Riley, of course.
Dude, Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, the defense had trouble tackling last year. And we brought in a bunch of guys, bigger bodies, quicker guys. Just looking at the roster right here that I have in front of me, like, I really think that Mason Cobb could be a breakout player. He's a senior linebacker that they have, and I just feel like he was part of the transfer portal. I feel like he's kind of a tackling kind of machine kind of player. And I think they brought in a lot of other guys, but I feel like he's gonna feed up that space. And that defense is gonna be dramatic change from last season. And that alone, I mean, I think that offense is still gonna be humming. Lincoln Riley is a boss when it comes to offense. So, I mean, I expect that team to be firing. Is there any players maybe that you're looking at for the Trojans wise that you think maybe would be top picks in this upcoming draft?
They have some. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head.
All of them.
But,
what a problem to have.
But as in with just with Caleb Williams, your quarterback, Lee Brown, your coach, but it just shows how fast you can turn teams around. The transfer portal literally can turn things around within a year.
But you just said it, it's free agency.
Yep. I mean, USC literally went from not being that great to finishing pretty good, but no defense. We watched the one game at Bullies last year.
Oh, the Pac-12 champ against your boy Cam Rising.
Where they can't make a fucking tackle.
We counted them, dude. There was like 30 in the first half. Where 1, 2, they missed it was like a bad game of NCAA 14.
Yeah,
where you just know the first couple of times you touch the guy, he ain't going down.
But I'm telling you, that's getting cleaned up.
So it just shows how fast the transfer portal can turn things around for you got being
good or bad. Good or bad? Do you like that? I think we have ruined college football as we know it. I think we have ruined college football as we know it. There's no such thing as committing to a team and being like, even if we kind of suck now, I'm here for 3 to 4 years. Yeah. Let's build something. Let's fucking go. Let's build a team. I think in college that is supremely important. In the NFL, where it's professional and it's about money and it's a business, that's different.
Well, to go back from earlier, I think that's where that multi-time transfer denials comes into play.
That's what they're trying to avoid. They're trying to get out in front of avoiding that, of guys who are I want a 6 year of eligibility, but it's my 4th transfer. Dude, okay, why? What? No, that's ridiculous. You should.
These guys are gonna pay me.
Because it's not about the education. You're not going to a better educational school. You're making that decision based solely on the idea that you're going to get more money.
Correct.
Or I guess playing time is good, but if you make that move once, I think you should absolutely be allowed to. If there's something at that first school that, whether the coach leaves, their transfer portal opens up and a bunch of the roster fucking fades off, and you're like, man, I don't know if I want to hang around with this. But once you commit to that second school, you should be locked into place. There should be some committal, 2 years, 3, 4, something. Jesus.
I think 2 years would be nice at least.
Minimum, yeah. No, I think that it makes me sad. The current state of college football, not having so many uncertainties, losing rivalries, sacrificing the pageantry and the giving a shit, dude. These schools are so fucking old. They've been playing each other for a century. Some of these rivalries have been happening for over 100 years. And now they're just well, the almighty dollar says that this rivalry doesn't mean shit anymore.
We're going to create some new ones, Chuck.
You know what? Okay, fine for the optimism. But I will not, I'll not be the old curmudgeonous man on the fucking panel tonight. But, dude.
Get off my lawn,
Exactly.
bitches.
Stop skateboarding on the sidewalk. It makes me real fucking upset, NCAA. Figure it out, because it will change other sports too. It's going to change other sports. There are athletes that are speaking out against it, that Bay Area teams don't want to travel to the East Coast. SC, you understand that football program has basically been semi-pro for how fucking long, right? This isn't overly surprising for a program like SC. Yeah, they did. They absolutely smashed him. It was unjustified, especially when you see some of the other shit that they let happen around that time. But anyway, the transfer portal, good in some situations, really tough in others, and this whole overwhelming money is king now is just sad. Just sad. Yeah, cash rules everything around me. I mean, it's not wrong.
All right, so our next 2 storylines we're going to throw out are about our teams individually. So for the Raiders, the defense in general, I want to see what the quarterback room looks like. I know it's not really promising, but Nate Hobbs is pretty good slot corner, and with the addition of Peters, that's also nice as well. So
he's a little bit older, but he's still
bring that knowledge. See what the other free agents, Duke Shelley and David Long, can bring. Also linebackers, and then is there anybody that's going to step up and help Max Crosby? Like Max Crosby is one of the best defensive ends in the league.
What's Tyree looking like? I know he's on the pup, right?
He's still on the pup. He's still on the
still?
pup with that foot. I mean, we could have had Christian Gonzalez and he could be balling out, but that's not what we did. But yeah, I think that so defense in general. The second one also is Aiden O'Connell and the quarterback position. So is Jimmy going to be the real deal? And if not, what's Aiden's progress look like? I liked what he looked like tonight. I hope that he is going to progress even more, and we'll see what happens in the next preseason game. But the quarterback position in general has been in flux. Carr's not there anymore, so now it's Garoppolo. Is he actually healthy? What is he going to bring to the field? Is he going to play more than 8 games? So it's always up in the air with him. Those are my 2.
Nice.
Oh, those
She gave both.
2?
Yeah, I gave them both 1.
Okay.
So for mine, I did some breakout players that I could see for the Niners. I think having CMC there for the off season, and then he got a taste last season. If there's another injury on this offense, skill position wise, I think he's an MVP candidate. He can be if he stays healthy. I'm really excited to see him for a full season this year, and I think it could be really great for the team. And then there was another offensive player too I just wanted to talk about is Ayuk. He kind of had a come out party last season. 78 receptions, 1,015 yards.
Shout out to McQueen football.
8 touchdowns. Yes, that's the other thing. The McQueen player has, family, or he has roots in California and Nevada. Also wanted to give a shout out to his mom, which was my mom's oncologist assistant. I guess technically her title would be nurse practitioner.
Okay.
But yeah, my mom actually met her, and she had nothing but nice things to say about her. Said that she was someone that all the patients liked, including the other nurses, someone that was very knowledgeable, professional, friendly, and gave attentive personal attention. So, great family overall.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
It's always nice to hear.
Charles, what's your 2 things you're looking out for?
So I did a little offense and defense as well. First, I'll lead with the defense because the offense one is a little obvious if you've been following Seahawk football, which you should. So which safety will emerge with Quandre Diggs? Right now, we signed Julian Love away from the Giants, who had a great year last year. Jamal Adams, who
just move him to linebacker.
I want to move him off my team. I don't know why we let him. He's not ready. He's running, but he's not in contact drills yet. So who knows when we're gonna see him? We drafted Jarek Reed II out of New Mexico State. He played in the first preseason game and he looked really good. And we were trying Kobe Bryant out at safety as well because we are so thick right now as what we deem at cornerback that, we could rotate safety / cornerback. It could be nickel or it could, that versatility is fantastic, especially in sub packages and like dime and dollar setups, stuff like that. Quandre Diggs he's a boss. You've heard me talk about, I thought he got robbed out of the top 10 safeties in the league. The fact that he wasn't there was a travesty. It is absolutely it's the worst thing I've ever heard in sports media history. So if we have a second baller come out at safety, that secondary could shape up very quickly.
I didn't want to cut you off, but I also had defense I wanted to touch on.
I'm so sorry. Zach threw it to me.
Sorry, Trev. I thought you were done. Sorry, pal.
You're good, because I'm also wanting to talk about my defense as well.
Just stacked.
Diamore Lenore kind of replacing Mosley. There's been a lot of hype around him, and there's also been a lot of hype around Drake Jackson.
Yeah.
I feel when he played at SC, his weight really fluctuated.
He was kind of on the smaller side, wasn't he?
Yeah, so I think now he's kind of coming into his position more and expect bigger things. And that, goddamn, I'm so excited to watch this defense. I think just the defensive line alone is going to be so great, especially if they're healthy. Like, great to the point where I think we need to come up with a name for this defense. So I wanted to spitball a couple, just see what you guys thought.
We're out here, Niner, bang, bang, Niner gang.
So, I mean...
I hate it. It's the worst nickname I've ever heard.
Some of the defenses I think that, I'm going to throw out there.
What you got?
Fort Knox. All right. I mean, defense Fort. We got the gold Knox. Maybe there's maybe.
Not buying it.
Not buying it.
Not buying it.
All right. Here's my other one that I have. Prisoners of Alcatraz. Kind of like a Harry Potter ripoff. But we put in the offense in prison.
Right,
it's historical to the location.
Yeah, it sure is.
Oh, Trev, you're reaching.
I know. It might be a little bit. But this is somewhere that I want to get the listeners more involved too. Niner fans, send me what you think this defense should be called. You can hit us up at Balls&Brews on Discord or Balls&Brews NV on Twitter and shoot me some names that you think that this defense should be named, because I think they're deserving as such.
Overrated.
No. When you have an All-Pro at every level
Justin
of your
Hargrave
defense,
isn't a dominating side.
You're an animal. It's a great defense.
So you didn't like my spitballs, but either you have
I'm not gonna name your defense. How about the fuck-alls?
Yeah,
the
that's
49er fuck-alls. You wouldn't even comment on the Seattle, the young players for my team. You're like, let's talk about the Jets.
Yeah,
I am at least complimentary to the Niners when I understand the fact
that last side.
Yeah, the 49er fuck-alls, dude. I think that's a great name for a defense. It's better than the Prisoners of Alcatraz.
All right.
All right, Trevor, you done?
Yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. This is all working out. We're spitballing here, as it were. My offensive question is real simple. Can Geno take the next step and really become the dude? He started off super hot. There was a little bit more tape on him. People kind of figured him out. He fizzled a little bit. But I think by giving him a contract and reinvesting in him with the first-round pick of JSN to really give us that slot weapon that, like, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and JSN have the ability to contend with Cincinnati for the potential best trio in the NFL, depending on how our play calling goes and the development of that young player in Jackson Smith and Jake Buck.
I do agree there with the team building. You definitely, when you think you might have the guy at quarterback, you need to put the positions around him to see
unlock
the
him
best
as well.
Growth that you can get. And a lot of these teams fall flat when it comes to that. And it's really confusing, I feel like.
I feel like it's pretty straightforward. Find the quarterback, build around him. Right? Like
protect it. Yeah, find the quarterback, protect the quarterback, attack the other quarterback.
Last year you spoke on the young guys, our bookend defensive lines. We still have Damian Harris, who's a great guard. But it is about Geno being able to continue progressing, because if he was what he was the last 5 games of last year, we're in trouble.
Right.
We need the first 10 games of the year out of him where he was slinging and he was very efficient. And I think Shane Waldron is going to love having 3 receivers out there a lot. He comes from the McVay tree, so he wants to go a little bit pass happy. Even though we also drafted, once again, Charbonnet, shout out, he was running over people in that Minnesota game. But Geno is the big question mark. Every other piece can just be okay, and they're not going to be scrutinized the way that Geno is. He's got a ball for that team to really elevate.
Well, yeah, I believe towards the end of the season, the I don't know if you know this, maybe you'll have the numbers, maybe you won't, but the red zone passing touchdowns for Geno, I thought started to...
Everything started to dip, yeah, absolutely. He had a rough last about 5 weeks. It wasn't like old Geno.
It wasn't
awful, right? Exactly, but it wasn't the level that it was like, holy shit, look at this guy.
If he plays like that all year, he's not going to get to the playoffs.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We are a 13-4 team or a 4-13 team. Like we have the potential to boom or bust, and I mean, I get the tingles and I have all the faith in the ability, especially I love my head coach. Like, I think he gets really left behind in some of the modern day coach talk as far as like who's, the current, there's McVay gets thrown around, Shanahan obviously gets thrown around. Andy Reid, obviously, Sirianni now in Philadelphia.
I don't throw him. I don't like because I think that you was going to say a lot because I think Shane Steichen might be a better coach. I will see.
Sure, he's really, this is his first go, but like I give real shout out to Pete knowing when to pivot. He gave Russell Wilson everything he could for years, and he moved off of him when he got the highest amount of value he could, and we rode Geno.
Well, bringing up knowing when to pivot, I have a question. If it doesn't go well for Geno, how long is that leash before they try?
We have to sit. We have one more year. We can cut him next year actually, and only be dead on like 15 mil or something. But if we keep him next year, out of that we're clear of him. We basically gave him a 2-year contract with a player option for a 3 year.
Sure, but
how long is that leash this year? If he if he eats shit. I don't think Drew Lock's the dude, so I think that leash is pretty long. I don't think we necessarily have a backup plan or one that we want to use or one that we're secure enough to be like, all right, if Geno starts out 1-5, are we going to Drew Lock? I still don't think so. I think that leash is pretty damn long. I think they have a lot of faith in that guy, unless he's 3 turnovers a game There comes a point where you have to, right? But if it's in that like will they, won't they? I don't think they will for a long time. If it's egregious and it is bad,
it's gotta be egregious.
That leash is fairly long. They've built up a good rapport with each other, Geno and the Hawks.
Yeah.
So I'm not in fear. I'm in fear of that. That is worst case scenario. Is we fall flat on our fucking face and Geno regresses hard. The tackles take a year off. We have some injuries. Anything can happen. You can have paper. Paper doesn't mean anything. It's what happens out on the field. Do you stay healthy? Do you win games? We'll find out. We're getting fucking close.
So those are ours. Let us know. Like Travis said, hit us up on Instagram and Twitter.
And our Discord, baby.
And Discord, yeah. Let us know what you think of if there's any other ones out there. Obviously, we didn't touch on every storyline. There could be a million of them, technically, if you think about it, of every quarterback and every this and every that. So let us know what you're thinking of interesting, and we'll see you after this break. I can't choose because I'm
out as well. But yes, send in those questions or ideas to both the Discord and the Twitter or X, whatever it's called now. And we're gonna create, I think, another segment with that once it gets going.
Yeah, hell yeah. Let's hear from you.
Welcome back to Balls and Brews. We're gonna jump right into our common sense, and then after common sense, obviously the fandom. So we touched on it last week, the Iowa State betting scandal that's going on.
Now we're not moving off of it because it's only gotten bigger. It's only gotten deeper in more news to report. So
yeah. So. Several more players were brought up in the investigation. Jarrell Brock, who's their starting running back, defensive tackle Isaiah Lee, tight end Deshaun Haneke, and offensive lineman Jacob Remsburg. So in this article, it also goes through what numbers these guys were betting out and what they were betting on. Brock was using an online account that wasn't in his name, but it was controlled by him. He's the starting running back. He placed 4 bets on Iowa State football games while he was a member of the team, including 2 games last season that he played in. It's unclear what the wagers he allegedly bet on in those games, but reportedly games against Kansas State and Iowa. Brock also placed 13 bets on Iowa State basketball games. So as we start reading some of these numbers, they bet a lot of games on Iowa State basketball too. Dude, you're in that fucking school. You can't be betting on the team. How did you think that was even gonna work? Lee, who's the defensive lineman, placed 26 bets on 12 Iowa State football games, including one that he played in 2021. He bet on the game that Texas. He only had a tackle on that game. Haneke was the Haneke is the tight end. Okay, he bet 70 bets on Iowa State basketball games. Dude, 70 times he bet on Iowa State basketball. Now get this. Check this number out. Remsburg. He plays 273 bets on NCAA basketball and football games, though none involved Iowa State. So he's just been betting hella crazy, but none of it involved. So I don't know. Like,
I'm good with him. I'm good with homeboy. Then everybody else though is that
you can't be betting on even the basketball games. And then it says at Iowa, there's 4 members of their team are also charged: wide receiver Jack Johnson, graduate assistant Owen O'Brien, alongside with Arlen Bruce, who transferred from Oklahoma State, and Reggie Brace, who transferred from Troy, were also charged. I don't have their numbers. It does say that Bruce played 121 bets on DraftKings that he controlled, including 11 Hawkeye football games that he played in. This story's just getting worse and worse. Like, I know we talked about the NFL betting earlier, and that's just been other guys. These are guys that are like playing in games at the schools. Like the one dude that had all the bets against other teams. Oh well, like if he's old enough, it shouldn't be a problem. It's the dudes that are betting on games they're playing in and betting on Iowa State basketball games. You shouldn't be able to bet on anything that's at your school.
Pete Rose fucking got banished from the Hall of Fame for doing that. He's the most high-profile case of that.
But I think this is a product of FanDuel and the things that fantasy football, how that kind of blew up, and people growing up in that time. Again, though, the problem is them being on those teams. Otherwise, this doesn't raise a
That's
flag.
alarming.
I mean, that one guy with the over 200 bets, that might be a problem.
He might have a gambling problem. He might,
1-800-GAMBLER, I believe.
When the fun stops.
You had the tight end allegedly placed 70 bets on Iowa State basketball games. That's you literally have inside knowledge being at that school.
Sure. No, that there's a conflict of interest,
yes,
as it were, right there for sure. I mean, in relations to the idea of common sense, you guys, like this is
getting way big.
Well, yeah, and I think it's going to force the hand, right? Like they're gonna have to levy something heavy enough to let schools know if it's happening, stop it right now, cut it off, like figure out who's doing it, and if it's happening on your games, and end it, because it.
Yeah, are you not allowed?
This is way worse than what Reggie Bush bought his house bought his mama a house.
There you go.
Fucking A, dude.
So
we got guys betting on their own games, and we're not hearing death penalty threats. Like,
but you have the dude that placed the 273 on other games. If he's not of age, I don't know. If he's
not of age, then it's a legal issue in that case. But as far as like, I can give a shit less.
Are you not allowed to if you're
a collegiate athlete? Maybe that's the thing. Maybe under the NCAA banner, you're not allowed to. That could be a bylaw. You're not allowed, even if you are 21. Now, let's be fair. Most of the kids playing under the NCAA aren't even 21 yet. They're young a lot of the time.
Right,
18, 19, 20 years old.
The Remberg kid, he's the offensive lineman. Jacob Remberg is the offensive lineman.
Okay.
So maybe he's like, he could be a senior and he'd be 21.
He'd be 22, 23 right, maybe, depending on 4-year, 5-year senior.
Correct. So, but it is alarming that it's this much. And is it just at Iowa State? Are they the first ones?
It's Iowa State. No, it's not. I think that's the scary part.
Right.
There's so much more of it happening underneath the surface. There has to be. There's no way this is an isolated incident. No way. Like, I love Washington football, and that's a very prestigious school. But wouldn't surprise me if there's a gambling ring up there. Yeah, there is an SC. Shut the fuck up down in LA. Get out of here. You ain't never heard nothing about no LA's team. We do everything fucking right. It's East Coast anyway. But, get out of here with that. Like, motherfuckers be buying into that school. There's money everywhere. They dice games be happening on the football parking lots.
I have the numbers of the Iowa guys. So Bruce, who is the transfer from Oklahoma State, placed 123 sports bets through DraftKings account that he controlled, including 11 on the Hawkeye football games he played in. Bruce allegedly bet under the Iowa games twice, first against Northwestern, a game he scored a touchdown in, in late to actually hit the over, and in an Iowa Bowl win against Kentucky, he didn't play in that game. Bracy, who is the transfer from Troy, placed 66 wagers, including 2 on Iowa games he participated in. And check this number out. Jackson, the receiver, Jack Johnson, he, that's Jackson, yeah. He placed 380 bets through an account with his mother's identity, including 4 Iowa games. And the graduate assistant placed 350 bets, including
These
3
motherfuckers,
on
man.
games when he was on staff.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bets. Not just 5, 10, 50.
380.
Multiple hundreds of bets, dude.
Seems like privilege a little bit.
This is just... I said it earlier, and I'm going to say it again. College football is dead.
Don't say that.
Is the dead.
Dude, that's an alarming number. So, yeah, but if you're not... I mean, it's alarming if you're doing it for games you're coaching or doing that in. But what is it if you're not doing it in any of that? Is it a rule in the NCAA that you can't bet? Or...
I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if there was. But
all the athletes in question who allegedly bet on their teams face punishment of loss of eligibility under the NCAA's new gambling guidelines.
They should. I'm not defending that. I'm not defending. You know that's stupid. You know that is stupid from the first choice. That's very fucking stupid. Your 350th fucking choice. Like, what is it? The rush? It's not the money. It's not the money that you're getting out of it. Is it the rush of the betting? Hopefully that you're right. It's got it.
Okay, so I got the rules. It says student athletes who engage in activities to influence the outcome of their own games are knowingly provide information. Those individuals involved in sports betting will potentially face permanent loss of college eligibility in all sports. This would apply to student athletes who wager on their own games or other sports at their own schools. The next one says a student athlete wagers on their own sport at another school. Education on sports wagering rules will prevent the required as a condition of reinstatement the loss of 50% of a season. So that dude that bet 273 times, he could lose half a season because he was betting on stuff. So these are, and then it talks about money a little bit in this thing. But the NCAA has a whole thing laid out in this article.
Well, they better
if you have $200 or less,
drop the hammer.
Yeah, $200 or less, man. That's a lot of guys.
They better drop the hammer.
We'll see how many. It's going to be. Hopefully, we don't see a bunch of teams start also coming out, not just Iowa and Iowa State. You know, are they the first ones to get caught? They can't be the only 2 schools.
They're not. They're not.
Well, on top of it, though.
Oh, fuck, dude, that's a lot, man.
That's going to be that. This won't be the last time we touch on this. I promise you. There will be more that comes from this, whether it be from these 2 schools or just some sort of.
I sure hope not. But
I mean, yes, but I'm a logical thinker. There's no way that if this is happening in fucking Iowa, you're trying to tell me that it's not happening anywhere else. Nothing happens in Iowa, except for good tight ends. Tight end U happens in Iowa. Other than that, like...
Damn, Chuck, spitting all over Iowa. Hey.
Have you ever been to Iowa? Raise your hand, you've been to Iowa.
Nah,
Raise your hand if you want to go to Iowa. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Damn. Don't try to take us down with you in your Iowa.
You didn't raise your hand, you had a shot. I gave everybody the same opportunity.
Just got no plans there right now.
Anyway, you guys, just collegiate athletes, you have to really watch your steps. You do. It's calculated effort. If you know what you're doing could get you in trouble in the big picture of things, just don't fucking do it. Wait until you are out of sports to bet on them. Sports betting is only going to get bigger. 98% of the people who play, most of those guys that are now ruining their college experience, they weren't going to go pro anyway, probably. Most don't, right? Especially from colleges like Iowa State.
hating on Iowa. Look at Chuck's fucking.
These are numbers. These are proven goddamn numbers, Downey. You can be as upset as you want to tell Iowa State to up their game, Brock Purdy. He's the 7th round fucking pick.
Will McDonald.
Will McDonald, that's true. 15th overall. Okay. There you go. Let's see. He's going to eat a bag of dicks.
I got you. I got your back, Iowa State.
The Red Cyclones. They do have some cool unis. I'll give them that. Who wants to go to Iowa? Raise your hand.
Chuck's
Still no hands.
I want to go see a game.
No,
yeah,
shut the fuck up. No, you don't.
I go to
Yeah, we'd go to an Iowa football. A Hawkeye game would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
that would
it
be
would
cool.
be. So I want to go there.
Cool. That's the only reason.
All right, Trev, let's lay out the fandom for the fans.
All right. So we were talking about, do you have another team? You know, like if your team gets eliminated, is there another team you pull for when it comes maybe just playoff time, or is there one outside of that? Is there certainly a lean team player?
So the overwhelming conversation point is essentially if your team doesn't make a playoff, whether it's the NFL, I don't have an NBA team, or the MLB, do you already have like a fallback team that you're gonna pull for, or do you have like, because I don't have a secondary fandom towards any other team really, but sometimes narratives and storylines pick up across those years and you're like, God damn, that's a good story if such and such franchise goes and gets the chip this year, and you're not necessarily against that. But in true hater fashion, which everybody who knows me knows that I hate at the highest level, is that I prefer to watch the teams that I don't want to win lose. Like that, I'm rooting more for the loss of certain teams than the winning of other teams.
I root for players, and so once I root for players, which I guess ends up making me root for teams. But the Bills, I root for Josh Allen when we get to the playoffs. I want to see him succeed, so it kind of makes me root for the Bills. This year, I will be rooting for probably the Saints when they get to the playoffs. I would like to see.
When they get to the playoffs,
I would like to see.
There's some foreshadowing.
I would like to see Derek Carr do something and kind of have it shoved in the Raiders' face for.
He could, man.
Josh McDaniels just being kind of a douchebag and just how the Raiders managed his whole tenure there. So there are teams, and then basketball-wise, I want to root for teams that play the game the way I want to see it played so that I can watch the game. I don't root for teams where you ISO up or whatever because I want to watch the game, so I want to watch good basketball. So like when it was the Bucks and the Suns, that was an awesome one. Even last year's was pretty good. Warriors was a good one because they're always moving around. So it's fun to be able to watch the championship game, yes. For baseball, it's kind of, I guess,
anybody but the Yankees.
It's kind of player. It's kind of player wise,
or
it's really not the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Red Sox. It's kind of like you always want to see like the Cubs or something. Like it'd be nice to see the Indians get a win sooner than later.
The Guardians.
Something like the Guardians.
It is. I do want to point out, if you have one centralized city of hate, it is for Boston. You do not like that city sports-wise. Like, across the Celtics, the Patriots, the Red Sox, fucking we'll throw the Bruins in there. I don't know.
We're throwing the Bruins.
Why not? Yeah, we're shitting on Boston. We were shitting on Iowa earlier. We're just bringing the wheelbarrow full of hate. That's what I'm talking about. We hate a little bit on this show. That's part of fandom. It is honestly... I care more about a team that I don't want to see win it than pretty much any other team that I do potentially want to see win it.
What about you, Seth?
So for me, I mean, I have that California background, so if the Raiders are good, I root for them, but I mean, it's been a while. So I go more towards the players that I like. I'll probably be pulling for Burrow a little bit.
Yeah.
I've pulled hard for Joey B since he's come into the league, for sure.
But I am also someone who likes new blood. Like, I get tired of the same team winning, Patriots, Chiefs, possibly.
Fatigue.
Yeah, I get that team fatigue. So, I want to see someone else in there, too.
It's kind of crazy that we're going to root for I have rooted for the Bengals before as well because of the quarterback that has played for them, Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
And now we got another Joe Burrow, hopefully they manage Joe Burrow better than they managed Palmer. Palmer got hit those couple times, blew his knees out. And then he went and balled it up at Arizona. But Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Hard
The
not to ball
Bengals,
when you got a guy named Larry Fitzgerald catching the ball.
but it's Bengals are kind of crazy. They've had 2 pretty good quarterbacks. Let's see if they can, and then Andy Dalton in between.
That guy just couldn't get over the fucking hump, dude. Him and Marvin Lewis tried to push that boulder over that hill for so many years and could not get it done, dude.
Like 12-4
Yeah,
records.
they went 0-6 in the playoffs together. They just could not even get sniff. Like, that was, yeah, fuck. But I love, playoffs are the best time regardless of if your team is in it or not, right? So it's the best when the storylines. I pull for storylines. If I'm not hating, which I have a hard time not, I'm pulling for storylines. Like, honestly, last year, the best storyline would have been Brock Purdy wins championship with the Niners after being Mr. Irrelevant, for sure. That would have changed the landscape of, the NFL narrative going into this season, for sure. But he blew out his UCL, and that's not how it went down. Mahomes gets his second ring and looks like a fucking god doing it, dude. Like, Hurts actually looked a little bit better in that game than he did.
Watching Mahomes and Andy Reid play ball, and you look at the offense, no more Tyreek Hill. Yeah, they have Kelsey. But then the next big-time playmaker with last year was, Schuster-Smith, right?
Smith-Schuster.
So this year was supposed to be what I mix it up?
Yeah,
Tooney, right? But he's hurt.
Looney, come on,
Looney.
we're getting there.
But he's hurt, so I mean.
Kadarius Toney. I'm
Tony,
so sorry.
yes.
Kevon Looney is a Warriors player.
Yes.
Kadarius Toney.
Yes.
Wow, it's getting late out here in the West Coast.
Yeah, Tony. Yeah, so but he's hurt, so it's gonna be interesting to see that team play.
And that's another thing. Talking about storylines, it kind of goes hand in hand with some rivalries too. Teams maybe that you want revenge against, Eagles, and maybe some of the classic matchups, Cowboys, and division matchups, Seahawks. It just makes for more entertaining.
We tangled in the playoffs last year, and it did not go well at all. None of the games against San Francisco last year were competitive for the Seahawks. We have got to turn that around. I respect. There's no such thing as a moral victory, like a good loss in the NFL. A loss is a loss, especially against a divisional opponent, a heated division rivalry, by the way. But you want to at least be fucking competitive in those games. Let's have a pulse now. We got ran out of the building, both our own and yours, twice. And that shit's frustrating, dude. I almost would rather go fucking 0-15 and spank the Niners, 56-0 both of those days and just, eat turd sandwiches the rest of the year. That would still feel okay. That's my hater. See, I can't help it, you guys. I'm sorry. That's my real fandom coming out. I'm gifting it to you. But there you go, man. So moving forward, we're inching closer to more preseason updates will be happening over the next little bit.
Yeah, keep an eye out for the injuries. There have been some none significant. There were guys getting hurt.
Knock on wood for that.
Yeah, none. I mean, significant to them, but none big names have gotten hurt yet. So
Burrow is obviously,
but that not in preseason yet. He's still not coming off. Watch out for some of these free agents too that Chuck named off earlier. And some of the guys that are holding out, I mean, at some point, we got to hope that some of these contracts get signed or they get offered. One of the two. I mean, we got to find out sooner or later before the beginning of the season, you would hope that Jacobs I don't want Chris Jones to come back because he just wrecked house.
There it is. All right, make sure you follow us, you guys. Instagram, X/Twitter, we'll be posting our audios and visuals. Beers are up, so go definitely take a peep that Mother Earth, you guys. That shit is delicious. Syntax.
Limited time.
Super good. Limited time. Back for a limited time. But we appreciate, the viewership. Hopefully we hear from you guys. We want to hear back about all these storylines that we talked about and what do you think the NFL season is going to look like. I know that you guys got to have some opinions out there.
Next week, look out. We're going to be looking at some bets on over or unders for win totals. And just throughout looking at MVP stuff like that and seeing if any other of these bets make sense looking forward.
There's a lot of them.
There was. We were taking a peek the other day.
All right.
All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Good night.